Did you? I mean, you made me sound like it was going to sue me or something. But everybody's got an attitude around here lately, man. Let's just fucking let's get it going. I'm getting the hi-hat all over the place. I get here and you remember yesterday, the first 48 minutes of the show were not recorded. Flipping, the technician, and Dan, the producer, are sitting here bragging about their work ethic, and the show's not being recorded. 48 minutes. And I go down to the Rite Aid to get some cigarettes. I come back up. Filato's not here. Chris Cotton's here, but he's not eating a sandwich, so I know something's wrong. Gino is sitting there, not talking about his picks or the Chargers. I'm like, something's afoot. And then what does fucking Flippin' give me? He gives me the Robert Duvall, Godfather 1, when the Don Corleone comes down from his room in his bathrobe after being shot, wondering what happened. And, of course, Brando knows what's going on, and I knew what was going on. But I had to ask. So I said to Flippin', I said, I see Dan Filato downstairs buying Privalone. I see Chris Cotton sitting here not eating. I see Gino Bisconte sitting here not jealous of everyone around him. I think you should tell your host what everybody else seems to know. And Flippin' said, I didn't tell your mother anything, you know that. I go, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I said, but I'd like you to tell me. But he goes, well, I was about to come up and tell you. I said, but you needed a gluten-free muffin first. Right. So tell me. We put in the wrong SIM card, Art. The entire first 48 minutes of the show was not recorded. And I slumped. I was like, I said, I want no re-recording done. I want you to call all the technicians in my life, my business manager, my agent, my lawyer. I want you to set a meet with all these people. This technical issue stops now. And then I very calmly got up and I said, call Ed in Chicago.
Ed Silla.
Call Ed Silla in Chicago. We need him now. That's what happened. A direct parallel to that scene. And did I cry? Did I quit? No. I calmly brushed my hair, did a squat thrust or two, lit a Marlboro Red long, sat down, gave Flippin' one because, by the way, part of the reason I went down there was to get him cigarettes. And nowadays, that ain't no easy task. I bought him a $19 pack of Marlboro Red longs. He lit one too. I gave him permission. We got a crane and got Chris Cotton off the couch, put him in the chair. Gino Bisconte got up for 5 seconds, got over the bitterness of not being able to host at the Comedy Cellar, sat down, and we did a fantastic show. One of our best, because I pointed out, coming from the Howard Stern School of Radio, the honest truth, the compelling truth. I pointed out what happened. I said, I'm not bullshitting my audience. I'm not bullshitting Rick from L.A. I'm not bullshitting Johan. I'm not bullshitting Mr. Morris. I'm not bullshitting the black kid from Detroit. I'm not
Gerald
bullshitting the black kid from Detroit who's getting a open mic set ready for Lansing, Michigan right now at the Pistons Putt. I'm not bullshitting Bill Lambier's fan club that are all big listeners. I'm not bullshitting my mother and sister and one of my cousins. The rest don't pay. The rest, quite frankly, want me to pay. It's been a big contention at some of the holidays. I'm going to do this show, and I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to do a podcast for you and the fans because they're growing. There's a stink coming out of Hoboken, pal, and it ain't for the first time. The docks, fish coming over from Nicaragua or Morocco. The banana boats haven't gone bad. No, that stench coming from North Hoboken, my friend, is the heat on the Artie Lang, Artie Quitter podcast. That's where the heat's coming from. So yesterday, we sat down, and I fucking fought through it. I fought the good fight. I looked at Gino with his look of disdain. Literally a human arrow heading for my fucking brain and heart to knock me out of this business. I looked at Chris Cotton, wondered where the Chrysler building was, and then, of course, I sat down and did a fucking show. I did a fucking 20-minute soliloquy that could go directly to Cleveland. Just don't even edit the tape. And then I sat down, and when I finished, Mitch Williams got on the phone. And we did what is probably one of the top 10 best interviews with a major league pitcher ever been done.
My buddy.
Mitch, of course, had a great sense of humor. We asked him who Dan Filato was again, and of course he was joking around, but it's clear he still had no idea who Dan was. Clear. Dan very insulted by that. And Mitch just went on with his day. Clearly has $70 million, living on a farm. Doesn't know what to do with his fucking money. I'm sitting here doing a podcast. But we had a lot of fun.
He does not have $70 million. He's had a couple of divorces.
Okay, well, all right, we don't need the details. Dan is so bitter. Mitch Williams forgot who he was, and Dan did research now. I'm glad you brought that up, Art. No. $70 million bucks? Bullshit.
Picture of us in fucking Lowry's.
What are you talking about?
In Lowry Steakhouse in Chicago, there's a picture of Mitch and his wife,
Yeah.
and my girlfriend at the time, and Mark Grace and his wife, Michelle.
All right, we get it. You knew him. I have a picture of me and Frank Gifford outside Yankee Stadium when I took with my father in 1979. You think you'd remember me? No. I've got the stats on his divorces, Art, right here. You don't diss Dan Filato like that and don't expect repercussions. 70 mil bullshit. He's got 3 mil taps, and that's gone. That's on its way out. He's a horrible broadcaster. 2 words, Joe Carter, motherfucker. Joe fucking Carter. Yeah, so whatever. I'm sorry, but, Dan bit the bullet. He's a professional. He booked him still after that diss. He booked him. Because he is entertaining, Williams.
He's the best.
And he's the best. My God, look at this phoniness. My God. I don't know what to believe with Dan anymore. Because I see how phony he is with other people. So I don't know if he's being phony with me. He's got me on his top 10 stand-up list. Holy shit. That's crazy. I appreciate it.
I don't know. I saw Twitchell's over the weekend. He may get bumped out.
Explain what Twitchell says.
he's the Tourette syndrome guy we have every Thursday.
That's another great thing I love about Dan. He's so in his own world. He yells out shit out of context.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
That he thinks people know about. He goes, "We're at Lowry's." What?
Yeah, because Lowry's is Chicago only steakhouse.
No, but you know who you were at Lowry's with who? What? What are you talking about? You got to, if you're going to crowbar that in, context, baby, context.
I told you the other day, I have no clue who the lie detector test guy is that you imitate, but it's so funny. I can't stop laughing.
But no, there's a difference between that. I mean, it's just a goofy voice that, whatever. It's not. I'll tell you what. If you heard him in person, it's not even that great of an impression. It's more. I mean, it's in the neighborhood. You could tell, but it's not. Dead on like Fred Travelina or Rich Little used to do. It's more of a caricature, which I always loved doing anyway, which what Harry Shearer was the master of. If I could aspire to be even 40% of that, then that's cool. There's a difference between doing that voice and you screaming out, "Lowry's!" Olive Garden.
Yeah. You've never been to Lowry's Prime Rib?
I have, Dan, but that's not the point. You're proving that you knew Mitch Williams and he made, so you think in the argument that he should know who you are you're clearly right. I'd agree with you. I mean, you get mad sometimes. But the guy, think about what he's gone through, man, with Philly fans. I mean, it's not just like pleasant shit. Man, I'm surprised he's alive. Does he live near Philly? Where does he live?
Yes.
Oh my
That he lives by Stephen A. Smith. That's southern New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know,
right. Exactly.
but there are,
That's
like,
Philly.
rich people there, right?
Well, some, but
Yeah.
let me tell you something. That's balls, because at the risk of getting knifed, I'm going to say this. The suburbs of Philadelphia on the Jersey side, okay? I'm talking like, in between Camden and Philly. There's towns like Deptford. I think Blackwood. I'm gonna say Cherry Hill, but there's two sides of the track. Cherry Hill. There's a very wealthy, nice side, and there's one that's the direct opposite. Okay, that's where Bob Levy lives, like Deptford, stuff like that. And they are jetty people. No, they're great people. They're real blue collar, tough motherfuckers. But you do not want to be on their wrong side, is my point. You don't. And they are passionate about sports. Passionate. The Eagles mostly. But these are the people. More so than on the Pennsylvania side. For some reason, there's something in the water. On the Jersey side of Philadelphia. In South Jersey, those people are kind of nuts. They booed Santa Claus. These are all famous stories that you laugh at, but this is true. Santa Claus got booed. Players get booed if they get paralyzed and don't call a timeout quicker. I think that's a true story. A player, I believe, was clearly a quadriplegic, but he didn't call a timeout, costing the Eagles a game, or at least a halftime lead. He was viciously booed. Viciously. The highest vertebra was broken. You can call a timeout, asshole. Time out. They got that O, they do the oot. Eggs and toast. I want some eggs and toast. Solid, very, very loyal fans, but batshit crazy and mean. Okay? That's how crazy they are. Okay, so knowing that backstory, let me reiterate Mitch Williams and how he's known best by Philadelphia sports fans. He was an amazing relief pitcher, closer. With the possibilities of being Mariano fucking Rivera. He was that good. Big, bad, scary-looking fucking lefty. The left-handed version of that guy in the HBO show, Eastbound and Down. I mean, on the field and off the field. Mitch Williams was the left-handed version of that guy. Hilarious. The closest another character has come to being as funny as Carol O'Connor in All in the Family. But he's a younger guy, a hipper guy. He's got long hair, rock and roll. And he's arguably the best relief pitcher of the last 20 years. That's who the Phillies had. And he was a redneck, kind of that dumb sort of like, I made a sandwich yesterday, stuff like that. Like David Wells. Number 99, shit like that. He had a lot of fun with this guy. Okay. They get in the World Series, 1993, against the fucking Blue Jays, who, excuse me, it was 92 or 93. No, this was 93, because the Blue Jays beat the Braves the year before, and they were going for their second in a row. They beat the Braves, now they go 93, they go to, the John Kruk Phillies, that team. Fun team, very, very popular. It's either game 6 or 7. It might have been game 6. It gets down to the last out. Okay? A runner on, I believe. Or he was either tied or a runner on. Joe Carter was at bat, and he was the winning run, put it that way. I think there were 2 outs. Mitch Williams hits one of maybe 2 or 3. I think it's 2. It might be 3. In World Series history, well over 100 years at that point, he hits a walk-off home run in Toronto. If it was in Philly, which I believe was still at the Vet, if it was at the Vet, I doubt Mitch Williams would have left Canada alive. I mean, would have left the vet stadium alive. I don't know if he would have gotten out. I'm serious. I don't think he would have made it out of the stadium without being viciously attacked. Something. Stabbing. Something. Benoit balls in a bag. Dried up pretzels with mustard to the head. Some sort of smuggled in shotgun. Something. It was in Toronto, thank God. Everybody was happy they won. In Philadelphia, though, my God, could you imagine the murderous feelings? And he goes back to Philly. There's a parade, all that bullshit. They're trying to put a good face on it. And he faced the media with a lot of balls. I give him credit for that. He went and did all the interviews. But that's how he's known in Philadelphia. Scary shit. And that man is, still doing interviews. He's still happy. He seems like a happy guy.
Ricky Henderson was the person at the first base.
Okay, Ricky Henderson was on first.
Yes.
For
the home run by Joe Carter.
So Ricky Henderson was a Blue Jay.
Yes.
Okay, so they were down by a run.
Yes.
Right, so they needed 2. Think of that, guys! The plot thickens. They were down by a fucking run. Was it game 7 or 6?
Game 6.
Okay, so it was going to go to game 7. It didn't mean the Phillies would have won, but they, would have forced a game 7. Always tough on the road. Instead, Joe Carter fucking ends it. Ding dong, who's there? Joe Carter. Gone. So the Philly fans see that, so they booed Santa Claus. They boo guys for not calling a timeout quick enough if they're paralyzed. And he gives up a walk-off home run. So that's what you're dealing with in Philly. Something in the water, man. So now, listen, my point is Mitch Williams, there's guys who get depressed because they make an error at a big game in June or something. They ruin a doubleheader, a twilighter. This guy keeps going. And not only does he leave the game happy with good stats, becomes a broadcaster. He's in people's face because he's entertaining and they know that. You can use a tragedy. You can use a tragedy to become a very, very, very positive thing. Now, Mitch Williams didn't do that yet. It seems like he got an enormous pay cut to become a sports announcer, and he hasn't found that positive thing yet. The rainbow for Mitch has not been found yet. But he is, he's out there. And Dan is mad at him because he knew him back in the day. And supposedly, what was it, lived with him or something? He visited you guys, you and Mark Grace?
There were times when he couldn't get in a hotel room, so he would crash in our place. And I would leave him the key.
Okay, so wait a minute. That is a close relationship.
Yes.
You're leaving the key.
Yes.
In Chicago.
Yes.
These are JD people.
Halstead and Wolfram.
What are you talking about?
That was the name of the streets that we were on.
You want to give out the phone number?
Well, there's nobody living there now. There's
Nobody's gonna
two gay guys living there now.
Well, there was back then too. Grace and Falato. How's that sound? You teed that one up, didn't you?
No, sir.
You teed that one up. But no, so wait, first of all, before we go any further, is there someone living at that corner now?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
2 gay guys.
What, should we hear that?
Yeah, because they're gay. They told me.
What does that mean? No, Dan, I'm not talking about the fact that they're gay. The fact that we're giving out an address where 2 people are.
There's Halston and Wolfram. There are numerous dwellings, housings.
Oh, good. So the angry mob could just go and fuck up a bunch of houses before they hit the right one.
But let's just say that ours is the one with the giant satellite dish on top of it that's still there.
Yeah, but so should you be giving out that information? Because damn, people are nuts. They might go, let's go fuck up Grace's house.
You don't think that the 20,000 women he fucking slept with went back to that house? That's why I had to move. I couldn't take it anymore.
Dude, calm down. You're just throwing out facts about people.
That's why I moved. It was a great house. I couldn't take it anymore.
Wait, too many hot chicks were stopping by?
3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, it was bothering the Notting Hill girl.
That's when you fucked them. Dan moved out of a house because too many hot chicks drunk were stopping by at 3 a.m. What? I don't even get it. And you got Cub connections. Not only are the hot chicks, you can get them to throw out the first pitch of the next game. Is that really why you left?
Yes. I couldn't take it anymore.
Not enough dick stopping by.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't understand. So, how long after Mark left was this happening?
Well, for a year and a half, Carrie would live with me, and then
She won American Idol, right?
no,
It's Carrie Underwood. Again, I'm trying to clear this up. A lot of the people listening to the show look like me. They're 52. They're my uncles. They're like, who the fucking Carrie? What?
And then
Ron Wood live with you?
And then right before September 11th,
Not 2001?
yes. Let's see how much of this I can
The 20,000 women he fucked.
think of what I can tell.
Wait. Now you're thinking? You were just blurting out facts before.
There was an incident with.
Think about what you blurted out before.
What do I care?
20,000 women at Vol State at that corner.
Last year, I went home and stopped by the old place and
Like a million people are going to be doing.
I saw my neighbors,
Yeah.
and they said, "Hey, have you met the guys that moved into your place?" I said, "No." So they knocked on the door, and I said, "Hello, it's two gay guys."
How do you know? Okay, what is the gay thing? You keep saying
Well,
that.
it's two.
Why bring that up? I mean,
It's a husband and husband.
okay. So do you need to bring that up? I mean, you're being very specific.
Well, I didn't give the unit number. There were 8 units.
You're really. I mean, this. You don't see the problem in this.
No, I do not see the problem.
Well, okay. You were thinking. What were you thinking about? Whether you could say before?
Halsted and
Their actual
Wolfram
names and
is
addresses?
like
They're rap sheets.
it's like where you live. There's a bunch of condos, townhouses.
You'll be saying that for 2 years from now on somebody else's show. There's 2 black guys.
Stephen A. Smith.
There's
show.
2 gay black guys who live at Artie's unit. What am I saying? I mean, people might, how people are. They might drunkenly go, oh, now we know the corner.
The name isn't on there anymore. They
Hey,
don't know.
gay guys! You know Mark Grace used to live there? That happens. In my book, In Too Fat to Fish, I wrote, that when my father threw me on the field, I wrote that we dug up a piece of grass in the Yankee infield like everybody was doing, and when we got back to my old house in Union, we planted it in the front lawn, and I ended the chapter by going, and that patch of grass is still growing at such and such avenue, Union, New Jersey. Cut to 2 weeks after the book comes out, Ronnie, the limo driver, the security guy at Howard, goes, "Hey, Artie, there's 2 nutty guys downstairs." I go, "Yeah, good. They have the patch of grass. Last night at 4 a.m. they stopped by us. They dug up a bunch of patches of grass. And they think they got it because you said it was off to the right and it was a different color than the rest of the." I said, "What? That is the scariest fucking thing." He goes, "You want to meet them?" I'm like, "Well, I guess they might get volatile if I don't." I met them. They had a chunk of grass. I took a little to appease them, but I said, "Okay, fine." I said, "Roll this up, smoke this, be my guest." That's fucking Yankee Stadium Kush. So, I mean, people get drunk. They act like that. They might go, "This is where Filato lived with Grayson." A lot of comedy fans of us, fans of the Cubs, yourself, whatever, they would do that. I mean, honestly, no one listens to the show, and we have a lot of time. Odds are the show's not being recorded right now.
If Chris Bryant lived there now, I think people would go.
Who's Chris Bryant?
He's the guy that's wearing 17 now.
Oh, okay, that's right. No,
Rookie
listen,
season.
there's
Rookie of the year.
It
He's
doesn't
gonna be Rookie of
matter.
the year.
Well, look, it doesn't matter. It just matters if just a few people have this idea. I'm not saying they're gonna. Interesting.
But that's why I moved. I couldn't take it anymore, so I bought a house.
Where? Oh, that's why you moved to the burbs.
No, I didn't live in the burbs. I live right by Wrigley. I bought a house near Wrigley.
Oh,
But I couldn't take the buzzes at 3:00 in the morning. He was on the Diamondbacks. He won the World Series, and women were still buzzing the house at 3:00 in the morning.
Nah, yeah.
And the Notting Hill girl was upset.
Right. Well, tell her to fucking take a walk. Say, "Look, I've been working for this kind of attention from women for 48 years. Now I get it, and you're fucking pissed off?" Of course, you don't say that. You you know, listen, she's a very lovely girl. You worked hard to get that kind of relationship with a woman. I can see you're more sensitive than that. But it's confusing, very disconcerting.
Everyone knew where we lived.
Yeah, well, now they all do again. As a goof on the Stern Show, once I gave out my phone number at home, you know, at prime time. And Howard said, if you're willing to change, I said, yeah, you know, let's see who calls, you know. And I left it out, and 50,000 calls. Oh!
I bet.
I drive a truck in Phoenix. What's all? Nothing prepared. Nothing prepared at all. And, you know, that was it. But,
Were there any women on there?
A couple, yeah. You know what they sounded like? Oh! This is Natalie. I'm a stripper. I bedazzled my fake cock. Can I shove it in your ass? Now, yeah, again, you know, those phone callers, the human, actual, real version of that, the drunk version of that, could, you know, stop by.
What made you give out your phone number?
Well, just I had to change it. I changed it every few months, especially when I was on Stern. You know, the people you met sometimes that were, you know, dealers or something, they were in your face. And you wanted it to be a one-night situation that they weren't happy with. They wanted it to be, hey, you know, party forever. So I did the responsible thing. And before I did it, though, I said, that might be a funny thing. And Howard agreed. It was like a 10-second thing that was funny on the air. We got some laughs and moved on to something else. But I don't know. We'll think about it because we got a couple hours before we air the show. You think I'm completely ridiculous in being worried about airing?
You know, I went back to the old neighborhood, and the people at Walgreens across the street, and there's a florist. They all knew.
Right.
So.
All knew what?
Where we lived. So they're still there.
No, Dan, you're talking about the neighborhood florist. We just gave it out to the North America. And there's, you know, 2 people in Seattle, 2 people, but all it takes is 2 nutty people to go there. I realize, you know, we're not 60 Minutes with the ratings, but we don't get 60 Minutes as audience. Not sophisticated. I just don't want to get up tomorrow and read a story in the paper that mysteriously 2 very, very nice homosexual men on the corner of Volstead and whatever.
Wolfram
and whatever were killed. Savagely beaten by someone yelling out Tan Filetto. I don't want that to happen. This war stops now.
Someone yelling out Chris Bryant. He deserves 17.
Chris Cotton. You're angry about that too. My God, you're pissed at Mark Grace.
No.
Yeah, you're bringing it up quite a bit.
I'm glad this guy's going to be an amazing player.
Well, what did he hit this year?
He was close to. He was about 290, but had close to 100 RBIs, and broke the rookie record from Billy Williams.
Right.
Sweet Billy Williams.
Love Billy Williams. I do. I love his swing and everything. And so what?
Sweet swinging Billy. He's going to win the Rookie of the Year.
Brian will.
Yes.
Yeah. So, do you know him? Have you met Brian?
No, I did not.
Okay. He probably wants to meet you. And the 2 gay guys living in your old house.
Can you imagine? He's 21.
Yeah.
He has Scott Boras as an agent.
Who?
Brian. Yeah. And he is going to be probably the one of the best players in the next 5 years in baseball.
Only 5?
And he's a good-looking kid.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that?
Well, he's a good-looking kid.
So?
Can you imagine the women he's going to pull down?
It sounds like you want to fuck him.
No.
Why would you bring up he's good looking?
He's a good-looking kid.
So? I mean, if he was ugly, what do you think? He would make less money?
He would not. That wasn't my point. My point was the women he's going to pull down.
Right.
When 89 and 90, when Mark won Sporting News Rookie of the Year, he was married.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't until he launched the old lady that he...
So he was completely true to the other one. That's what you're saying? You won't.
Until she left him for Ray Liotta.
We can speculate. You're giving out that information?
Why? She married him. It's in the fucking papers.
But he left them. It sounds like, very. There's details there that you sound like she.
I didn't tell any details. I didn't say.
Well, you said left them for. It sounds like a soap opera.
She left him for Ray Liotta.
Is Ray Liotta better looking than Bryant?
No.
I don't know what guy says that. Good looking guy. What's good looking about him? Give me details.
He's a good looking guy.
What are his features?
I don't know.
Well, there's a reason to say it.
From what I read on Twitter,
You've seen pictures.
I would imagine that Anthony Rizzo is the other big hitter on the Cubs, and Anthony Rizzo looks like if John Kruk had a younger, less intelligent brother.
So you don't like him as much?
I love Anthony Rizzo. I think he's a better player than.
Sounds like you don't.
No, but he's just not as good looking as Chris Bryant.
What does that mean to you? What does that mean?
What do you mean?
Who brings that up in a statistic? Who's a Cub fan? Who's a man?
But I wasn't talking about what a good teammate he was. I'm talking about they would rather
What
meet
makes
Chris
him
Bryant
better looking?
because he's got a good looking face.
But what is it a good looking? Give me details of what that means to a man, a heterosexual man. Like what is it?
When I see women swoon over Chris Bryant, I know.
I'm not saying what is he good looking to you about. Now, what you say he's good looking.
No, I read the.
You look at him.
Huh?
You look at him clearly.
Hey, he can't hit in the cold weather. That's what I'm worried about tonight. He's been
Fucks up his looks.
He's only got one for. He's one for whatever it is, 14, 15.
What do you like in a guy? Like what makes him good looking? What's your type?
Yeah, whatever.
Is he blonde?
No, dark hair.
Like long hair, curly hair?
Short hair.
What do you mean? Is it curly?
No, Chris Bryant doesn't have curly hair.
But is it a bit nice head of hair?
Yes.
How old is he? Yeah. Thick?
20. How old is he?
Like a thick head of hair,
Yes, yeah.
How old is he? Yeah.
22, 23 probably.
Oh, yeah, so everybody's got their hair at that point. What's his build? Is he thin?
He's thin, yeah.
Like a thin guy? Not overly muscular.
No, but if he starts to work out, he'll be an amazing hitter.
Do you want that?
In 1991, Mark Grace went down to that big man's training camp. Do you remember Pete Newell? He
good looking?
He trained centers for the NBA. They had that Pete.
I know Pete Newell, yeah.
Okay,
big fat guy.
I don't remember what he. But Mark went down there and trained with him.
But I'm just saying. I mean, at the point, like a fat, sort of effeminate guy.
I have no clue who he is. But Mark went down there and trained with him for a winter.
Yes, you do. You just mentioned him.
But I don't know what he looks like. I don't remember.
I'm saying this specifically because I want to make sure I know the right guy because I think I know he's a guy specifically.
He was an NBA guy. I'm going to look him up.
He's a fat guy.
Pete Newell basketball camp. No, he's very thin.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, this is Pete Newell.
But no, younger. That's not very thin. When he was younger, he's older there.
So anyway, 91 Mark went down there in the wintertime to bulk up, and the next year was his worst year because it affected his wrists.
You're right. It's not that you can't do that with all hitters. Let me see a picture of Chris Bryant. Just go to your Instagram. So you're just saying you've never seen Chris Bryant. You've heard he's good looking. From who?
From the Cubs' Twitter.
They put down that he's good looking?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know. I guess so. It looks like he shaves his head.
No, I think he's got a full head of hair.
What color eyes?
I can't tell.
You know what color eyes are.
I do not know.
Yes, you do.
They're Is that gray?
Gray?
Blue? It's not blue.
They look blue to me. It looks like blue eyed. No, it's you have a very open like what is you told me that your favorite celebrity, like the guy that you couldn't be in the same room with, is a guy named Rick Steves.
Yes.
What is he? Explain to that. That's actually the name of your guy on your you're like you have like a
Email.
Email.
Yeah.
It's at Rick Steves.
No, it's not.
What is it?
It's I don't want to give it out, but it's close to that. Yeah.
He's actually in your email address.
My secondary one, the one that I used to like.
And why? So he's very important to you. You ever met him?
Once, I couldn't speak.
And you were that nervous?
Yes.
That you couldn't speak?
Yes.
Explain who he is to people.
He's a travel guy, and he writes these travel guides around Europe. Rick
Right.
Steves Europe, and I
Okay.
could not. And I have been in show business since I was 15 years old, and there are very few people. The very first time that I met Bruce
Show
in
business.
1984.
There's people who would argue that you're not in show business now.
Yeah,
There's people who
right.
argue that I'm not in it now. You've been in show business since you're 15?
1984, I met Bruce at
Springsteen.
Alpine Valley, Bruce Springsteen. And he let our show broadcast backstage.
Right.
For the first time ever, a show was able to do live from 2 to 7.
Right.
And I met Bruce, and I could not speak.
Right, okay.
And Bruce said, "So you're on the radio?
Uh-huh.
You don't talk much."
Right.
So it was Springsteen and Rick Steves. Everyone else
In
I
the
can
same
chit-chat.
room?
No, but everyone else I can chit chat with. I don't care.
But people
Clinton,
but people
Obama.
Don't, people, any girls that you're that?
I met Juliette Binoche at the height of her
Who's
hotness. Let's see. I'll show you a picture of her. She's an actress.
Juliette Binoche.
In 1997, I met her. and
But let me say, because Rick Steves, so what does he do exactly? Like, how would people know who he is?
he does a travel show
Where?
on PBS.
On
On all
PBS?
the PBS stations around the country.
When did you first see him?
I started watching his show. PBS started running his show for free maybe like the late 80s.
Uh-huh.
And he just has this way to meet people that I don't have. Like you were joking yesterday about me going into a Cubs bar and talking to people. You're right. I don't have that gene to just walk up and say hello to people I don't know. He does.
So because of that, you can't be in the same room with him.
No, he was a guy that I watched grow. I admired.
Right. But Dan, you take it to another level. You admire him to the point he's in your email address. And
No, my fake
beside
one.
the two, yeah,
My
but still,
fake
he's in. In other words, when I put the
This is Juliette Binoche.
really, I know you.
Yeah.
That's your favorite actress.
I think she's in 1998 or 99 when I met her. She was hot, smoking hot.
Okay, so, but I'm saying when I put on the Apple TV here that you set up,
Right,
Steve's is in it.
right.
Okay, so I mean that's something that's special to you.
That's
you
a
put the
fake.
grandmother.
No. That's my fake email. My real
Still, but you
email
may
is something
put
else.
something in your life you put Steve's in, fake or
Yes,
not.
yeah.
Okay, there's two people who you can't be in the same room with because you're that into them. Bruce Springsteen and this travel guy, Rick Steves.
Yes, absolutely true.
Don't you think it's odd?
Everybody has their,
Do other people know this?
Yes, sure.
Do they think do they question you on it? Do they think it's weird?
My wife thought it was weird. She walked up to Rick Steves and started talking to him and said, "My husband's really,
Insanely,
in awe of you."
in awe, really. I mean, to
Right.
the point where he's that much on your mind.
You don't have somebody that you've watched since a kid.
I put
Yankee?
Bruce Springsteen. I get that way with, sure.
Right.
He's iconic. Because people I've been fans of since I was a little kid. It was odd. You get of course, Howard Stern was in that league when I met him because he was iconic. He was, if I had ever met Thurman Munson, in a weird way, yeah, all those Yankees because Mickey Rivers and all that stuff. Not huge guys, but to me, sure. But to the point where I'm that nervous out of over 40 years old, over 50 years old, and like if Steve walked in right now, how would you be able to function?
Boy, I haven't. Probably, I'd still be very nervous. I'd have to say that. I'd have to be honest with you. I'd be
And,
very
and he hosts a show on PBS. That's all he does.
right
For
Rick Steves
travel.
Yeah, and he's turned it into.
And
this-
he's good at like interviewing
Right,
people.
right.
And because of that, and the fact that you don't have that
It would-
gene,
right.
you're that in awe of.
yes, absolutely.
Man.
When I first met you, I was able to talk to you, right? And I was a huge fan of yours. I was. I was.
I know, but I'm
we
flattered by that.
talked.
But of course, I don't. There's not many. I'm trying to wrap it around my head. I'm so fascinated by that aspect of you. I just really is fascinating.
Bill Murray took me once to Van Morrison, and Van came backstage, and I was just sitting there rapping with him, talking to him for 15 or 20 minutes. And Bill was like, usually people are in awe of Van Morrison. I love Van Morrison. I listen to his music all the time.
But no, that's a false statement. People are not usually in awe of Van Morrison. I mean,
Really?
not that nobody I went to high school with. I mean,
okay.
I respect his
Who would be
talent. I
Bono?
respect his talent.
Bono?
I mean, it's a rock star. I'm a fan of his stuff. In awe of, and where I put him in my voice.
Bono was on a
fake.
Bono was on a bike outside Wrigley Field. No one else recognized him.
Yeah.
He was by the Cubs, where the Cubs parked their car.
Right.
And I walked over and said, "Hello, would you like to meet the team?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, sure." And I rode my bike to Wrigley Field, so I realized who it was. And I said, "Do you want to go riding tomorrow?" And he's like, "Absolutely." That was all. I could never say that to Rick
But
Steves.
still, okay. Really? So
Yes.
Rick Steves is way bigger than Bono. To you. To you.
Yes. I get more enjoyment out of watching Rick Steves travel.
Okay,
than
that's
I
one
do.
thing, but being in awe of the guy.
What do you want me to say?
No, I'm nothing. I'm just saying it's really a fascinating. I mean, the human.
I met the Queen once. I lived in England for a year. I didn't give a fuck.
Right. I wouldn't care about the Queen, to tell you the truth. I mean, yeah, we're talking about personal. Okay, well, since you told me that, I went and I looked up Rick Steves. I had to see who it was. I did. And, okay, is Rick Steves heterosexual?
Yes, he's married. He's been married for a while. I think he's divorced now, and now
He's very effeminate.
I didn't notice that until other people pointed that out.
Every single person I point him out to says thinks he's a gay guy. No, I'm saying, I mean, he's very effeminate.
He's not. He's not.
You want to play some audio of him? Could you be in the same room if we play audio of him?
Yes.
I'm really fascinated by it. It's very fascinating.
There isn't anyone. Okay, let me think of.
Certainly no feminine guy.
I have to say that I had that same where I got cottonmouth around.
Around Chris Cotton?
No, around Vin Scully. I loved, the Chicago broadcasters.
No, look, dude.
But
I
Vin
know.
Scully-
I know. There's a ton of people on that level of like, wow, it's cool to meet them.
The same thing with Albert Brooks. I could not. Albert Brooks wrote me a letter after I met him about how awkward it was.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
he wrote me a letter. I have it framed at my house.
Well, what did he say?
He just said, for someone who was such a fan.
I don't get it. What? I don't understand. You like Rick Steves? What I mean, excuse me. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Who are you? You know Harry. I don't understand. This was very, very disconcerting. Well, how do you take that? Like, did you bring up Rick Steves to him?
No, I did not.
Are you embarrassed by that at all? Like the Rick Steves
No, I
thing?
just someone that I admired.
Not just admire, man. You clearly, more than Bono, him and Bruce are the only two you had that experience with. They're two very different categories. Very different categories of people.
It would be my
Springsteen's,
my kryptonite, Springsteen and Rick Steves. Where I lose it, and I don't lose it. I fucking went with you. You saw Joe. You saw Joe. I met Joe, when I was
Joe who?
Joe Walsh. I met him when I was 16. We bonded like the second I met him.
What does that mean? So you feel the same?
Joe's
way
a
about-
much bigger star than Rick fucking Steves.
Yeah,
but
no one has to tell me that. Of course,
Right, but
that's my point.
But I was so I had it.
But Rick Steves bigger than you.
Yes, absolutely.
The Joe Walsh.
Yes.
Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, we're friends. I love you. That is the weirdest thing.
I can't help
That
it.
is so weird. It's borderline creepy.
It's not creepy.
It sort of is.
It's not creepy. I went to Sinatra's house twice. I was
Right,
not
I mean,
as
it's-
enamored with Sinatra. I
Rick
tried
Steve.
to crack jokes with Sinatra, all bomb, by the way.
Listen,
But-
I think I totally believe you're a heterosexual man. Okay, I do.
Whatever.
I do. But I guarantee there's no straight guy this into Rick Steves. I guarantee there's no one into Rick Steves like this. Dan, I would say there's no one, including people in his family, including his agent, including his publicist, that are even fake this into Rick Steves. And the fact that you don't acknowledge that aggravates me. The fact that you're surprised, I'm surprised. It makes me mad. Not mad, I love you,
No.
but I'm saying, I just don't...
I'm not.
I'm just saying, it's odd that this guy who's an insane, guy, sort of a Cub fan, those Cub stats inside and out. I mean, one of those Chicago Italian guys. His old man's like Peter Falk type of thing. A guy who's involved with disco demolition, all that shit. Is that into Rick Steves? Is crazy.
The gene that he has in him,
Which is the
I
gay
did-
gene.
No, because I had a lot of time off in the off season, especially from '88 to 2001 when I was in charge of the Cubs.
Right.
They gave me
You're
January.
in charge of the Cubs.
Yes, the broadcast.
What is okay?
From January, February,
Rick-
March,
okay.
they gave me those months off because they knew that I
what
worked
is-
every day during the summer.
But what does that mean?
So I would go to Europe,
Right.
and I
By
could
yourself?
not. No, a lot of times I went with a girl. I went with a girl I was dating. I never. Yeah, I went with girls almost every year, and sometimes
What did they think of the Rick Steves thing? Did you ever tell them? How long do you wait before you tell them that?
my wife said that sometimes she felt like there were three people on a vacation
That's unbelievable, Dan. Dan, that's unreal.
because I had the book with me.
How long do you wait before you tell them about this Rick Steves obsession? I'm not even a little bit kidding. How long do you wait before you tell them? I mean, how do you tell? Like, how does it come up? Do they go? Do you bring it
Well-
up? Do you initiate the conversation? Does she go? Look,
Before
I've
I
seen
was-
Rick Steves a lot. He's in your fake email.
No. Before I was married, there
Yeah.
was when I lived with Mark Race, there was a wall of DVDs, and we had the entire Rick Steves
So Mark
passport.
knew about it.
Europe through the back. Yes, yeah.
What did Mark think about it?
Mark actually called him up to try and get him to fly to Chicago for my
What
birthday
happened?
party.
Did
He
he?
was in Europe at that time, but he sent me a really nice gift, and he autographed the Rick Steves Europe through the back door.
Through the back door. Europe through the back. Hey, wait a minute.
That's the
Is that the name of the book?
Yeah, that's Europe through the back door.
Dan, listen. I think Rick Steves, I have no proof of this. My theory, I think he's a very closeted homosexual. I do. I got nothing wrong with that. Does he have children?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to point out Dom DeLuise had children. How many kids does he have?
He's got 2, I think, and I think he divorced his wife, and I think he's about to remarry another woman.
Okay. Now, is he aware of the level of obsession you have with him?
Yes.
Would you describe it as an obsession?
Here, look. Europe through the back door. Right?
Yeah, no, I believe you. Matter of fact, that would have been my first guess. Let me see. Europe through the back door. The name of the fucking book, guys, is Europe Through the Back Door. Look at the next book. Took the front door seemed odd. Rick Steves' confused look as he uses the front door. Something's missing for me at the front door. Dan, I almost believe you're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding.
I know you're not. This is the craziest fact about a human being who I've been friendly with that I know. I've never heard of something like this. He's aware of your level of obsession.
I think
Wait,
that
so you've officially only met him how many times?
I met him once.
Has he ever known you were in the same? Not known you were in the same room as him? Like,
No.
okay,
No.
like a
No.
like a
he
big
knew
room.
he knew of my nervousness because Mark Race tried to get him to fly for my birthday.
What do you mean he knew? So Mark, Mark didn't seem like the most sophisticated guy in that
No.
level. What did Mark go? Hey, Dan, I'm on the Cubs. That guy likes you. Would you?
Yeah. He said, my roommate likes you, and we're having
Did he pass him a fucking note?
no, he called him up.
My roommate likes you.
He had the Cubs traveling secretary call him up. So he
You're going to his wife. Listen, sweetie, do you know who Mark Grace is? What are the Cubs? Are they a soccer team?
Oh God! You know what? If you hear his voice, it's going to be worse.
Dan, I know. Play it, please. Play
Okay,
it.
let me get it.
I played it for my mom because I was confused, and she said that's a gay guy.
It is not a gay guy.
Dan, he's struggling. He's so struggling with this reality, and I feel bad for him.
He's not a gay guy.
Dan, do you think he's met other people at the back door that? This never came up to you. Like first of all, the fact that you're this open about it is really impressive to me.
I wish you're
like fuck you, Artie. I don't care. But
I don't care what you think.
I know you don't, but I love that about you. Wait a minute. Did Nick DiPaolo know about this?
No.
Okay. You know, Dan, if you were gay, I could care less. You know that, right? Okay, I'm saying. If Rick Steves were gay, I could care less. How old were you when you discover him? Like you see him on TV and you go, "Wow, this is something."
He started
something
showing
connects
up.
here with
He
me.
started showing up on PBS around like 80.
He started
586?
He started showing up, and when I was masturbating on PBS
Yeah.
at the age of what? How old were you? 13.
20, 23.
No, I thought you said. Oh, really? That
yeah,
old?
yeah.
Okay. How old is he?
I have no clue.
He's older than you.
Yes.
And you're 53 now? 53.
Yeah,
So,
53.
okay. So we're talking about a 22-year-old guy. He was 26, 27 when you saw him first.
Yes.
Young guy. By the way, Dan, Chris Bryant looks like a guy who's on the cover of Grindr, the Grindr.com. He looks like that kind of gay.
Back with more of the best of Europe. This time, we're in Switzerland.
That's Rick Steves.
Enjoying not its majestic Alps, but its fascinating cities. Thanks for joining us.
Okay. Dan, okay, stop it right there. Is when this podcast airs, please, I want your comments on this. I want to know if you. I want to know if you.
I don't think we recorded this one.
Dan,
Flipping accidentally hit the record button.
Dan. First of all, he picks the sentence with the most S's in the history of sentences. Today we're in Switzerland, in cities. Wait, play that again. Okay, wait. Before you play it again, I'm going to try to set this up again every 5 seconds because I'm this fascinated about it. Okay, Dan, this is a fact about Dan Filato you might not have known. And I'm glad we got into this because I love the guy to death. I do. Okay, Dan, there's two people, celebrities in Dan's world that he has been in the same room with and was speechless. So in awe of them because he admired them that much that he barely could speak. Am I accurate?
Yes.
Barely could speak. Like really obsessed with this guy. But if you had to pick one, it sounds like it would be Steve's. I don't know. Okay. The two people are Bruce Springsteen, who we met in 84 when you're about, like I say, 23. 1984, and Alpine, that big venue on the Born in the USA tour.
Yes.
And you meet Bruce backstage.
Yes.
And his voice is, it was very, very manly.
Yeah.
Okay. The other guy is the guy you're about to hear. Now, the other guy that Dan is so obsessed with, loves the guy, because he's seen him on the PBS Travel Channel through Europe. Rick Steves, Europe through the back door. Okay. He's obsessed with him. He's told women in his life, wives, he can't, like, he just doesn't, he gets the shakes when he's around him, when he thinks about
that's not how it goes.
Dude, speechless, Dan. Okay, whatever. Okay, fine. You're in awe of the guy. Okay, is that fair? You're in awe of the guy.
Yes, yeah. No, but it doesn't go like that. It just goes know,
how does
I
it-
watched the show, and
Yeah.
my wife and girls that I dated before her
You're saying that very strong. You're going, my wife, I had a wife.
So my, you know, they saw me with ease with Tom Petty, Joe Walsh,
Right.
Bill Clinton. I
Like
walked up
the-
to Bill Clinton. I go, hey,
No big deal, right?
no big deal.
Right. But it was a big deal when he was in the same room as the guy you're about to hear. Now, Rick Steves, and the only way you need a celebrity is that he's a travel guy on PBS, so Dan got to know him. Him and Bruce, Dan's obsessed with. Here's Rick Steves.
Traditional culture high in the mountains or savoring the joys of modern life in its great cities, the Swiss get it right. In this episode, we focus on an often overlooked part of Switzerland, its urban charm.
My cock.
We'll get some easy exercise, floating with locals, and ring one very big bell.
My God.
We'll enjoy a variety of art, from
Big
stained
bell.
glass by Marc Chagall to bold works by artists considered insane. We'll see how the Swiss use lights as part of a creative drug policy and explore a secret underground fortress built as a defense
my ass.
against the Nazis. And we'll experience that incomparable Swiss natural beauty with a cruise on a romantic paddle wheeler. Nestled in the center of Europe
Paddle
is
wheel?
Switzerland. While much of the country is dominated by the Alps, most of its population is in the northwest,
Holy
a
shit.
gentler land of lakes and cities. From Zurich, we traveled to Lucerne, Bern, and Lausanne.
Lucerne.
Like many visits to Switzerland, ours starts in its biggest city, Zurich. While it's a major transportation hub and many just pass through, it's a powerhouse city and well worth a look. The Swiss joke that Zurich is zu reich and zu ruhig. That's a play on German words for too rich and too quiet.
What?
Sure, it's rich and there are livelier places, but Zurich is comfortable and
Wait,
it
stop it,
consistently
one second,
ranks as
stop.
one of the world's
Okay, not Lucerne. Lucerne, which is a play on German words meaning fun with a romantic body paddle. So, okay, first of all, if you see this guy, he looks like Kelsey Grammer in round glasses. Kelsey Grammer.
You're
if he was-
assuming our audience is stupid and haven't seen the number one draw on PBS.
What is it?
Rick Steves.
Dan, I guarantee no one in our audience knows Rick Steves. Rick
They
from
know
LA does not know Rick Steves. Gerald from Detroit, nada. No. Rod from Bayside, no way. Dan, look, you know me. I like PBS documentaries. I didn't know who he was till I met you. I did not know who he was. Dan, let me tell you something. Our fans of the show probably have drug problems. One of the drugs is not AZT. Our fans smoke weed, maybe opiates, do some blow, MDHA. They do not need AZT on a regular basis. He looks like the guy. The guy looks like Malcolm McDowell in Clockwork Orange if he had his hair part to the side, round glasses, and had full-blown AIDS. And was paler. That's what he looks like, okay? He speaks like that. So Dan has the same feeling as that guy, as the guy who, as he's listening to Born to Run. that and Born to Run. It gave you the same feeling. Dad, please tell me you realize how odd this is. It makes you, it makes you a cooler person. You know the guy on the beer commercial, most fascinating man in the world? This dude blows that away. This guy's got nothing like that. Nothing. He once went to see Rick Steves give a tour in Europe. The same day, he was in awe by Bruce Springsteen's voice. Then he went to Lucerne to use a romantic body paddle with Rick Steves. He is the most fascinating man in the world. Dan, that guy we just heard is in your fake email. He is an obsession to the point where you say you were in his presence and you could barely speak. And you still to this day have that obsession. That, Dan, is crazy. That is crazy.
Whatever.
In a great way, though. In a way that's, you know what, I'll tell you why. This is why I got into show business. This is why I got into comedy. No, I'm being dead. No, the guys, I'm being dead serious right now because I didn't want to meet boring people. I didn't. I didn't want to meet a guy who, you like the Mets, you probably like the Jets. You like pastrami, you probably like, mozzarella and Brazoot. You like hockey, you probably like football. You like corduroy jeans, you probably never made a sort of fashion risk or choice when you went to a wedding. Pretty much the regular, the red fucking Gindaloon, North Jersey bow tie, the cummerbund when they were in fashion, blah, 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 blah. I wanted to meet more interesting people. I wanted to meet... Okay, I met enough guys who, because they love Springsteen, also loved Bob Seger. I met enough of those guys. I wanted to meet the guys who love Bruce Springsteen and Rick Steves.
Its old town is lively day and night, with cafes, galleries, and a colorful cobbled ambiance. Zurich's main drag, Bahnhofstrasse, is famous for its elegant shops. If you're looking for a fancy watch, stunning jewelry, or a $1,000 sweater, this is the place.
$1,000 sweater?
For more affordable extravagance, these delightful mini macaroons, a local favorite, may be expensive, but they won't break the bank.
Very special. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The city's art treasure is in its Fraumünster, or
Treasure?
Church of Our Lady.
Dan, the only other human being in the room is Selma. And there are people at the Knights of Columbus who question that.
He doesn't do South America or Mexico.
There are certainly things that we can say about Selma in South America. There are wonderful things. Sweden, Switzerland, Lucerne. When we get to Lucerne, we'll go across the bay and discover the wonders of the body paddle as used by the Amsterdam Indians who first discovered it with Marco Polo. Here on tour, sent by, of course, the Dutch. Queen Elizabeth IV said to these people, go to Lucerne.
This is the
Build a hut.
This is the traveling time now for many people because the kids are in school.
Traveling
so
times.
There's a very
the kids are in school.
It's very inexpensive. So his new series of books came out, and I was reading one last weekend.
In the back door. My new book is Switzerland Through the Back Door.
There's some amazing new exhibits at the Tate Modern. In
Join
London.
Join me as I widen the back door. Join me as, because of time going by and more visits
Can't
from
you
Rick Steves, I widen the back door. The back door was not as wide last time.
For someone who is as open-minded as you.
Open-minded?
Can't you understand
Dan, I'm not that
I have
open-minded.
been around rock stars and baseball and football
But
players
you were never around a
my
closeted gay
entire
travel
my
guide.
life. My entire life.
Dan, again, I'm not... You know what? I blame myself for not being a better broadcaster, for not being a better communicator. Hi, the wonders of Lucerne are next. Next, I explain why a man named Daniel Falato, why I touched him. Sure, he loves Bruce Springsteen. He loves when Bruce Springsteen makes his home runs. He lived with Mark Grace, who seemed to be a bit of Neanderthal when he called my assistant and said some gorilla is on the phone saying, oh, Dan Falato wants to meet you. I said, we've gone through these prank calls before, you bastard. There's no one who likes Italian beef and the Cubs and Bruce Springsteen who likes me, Rick Steves. No one has that open of a mind. I was wrong. There is someone.
Mark tried to call it Bruce Springsteen, but he thought it might not be the best thing in the world since he was the first person to date Bruce's ex-wife after the marriage broke up.
And more deflecting facts come out of Dan's mouth as he desperately tries to get us off the subject of him loving Rick Steves. He blurts out facts that may or may not be right just to get the attention off of him. Bruce dated his waitress. Your voice kind of sounds like him on where you go like a. Here's you meeting him. You ready?
There's another guy that I admire that much, but he died right before I could, and it's apropos of today. So
What are you talking about there?
there's a guy that Star Wars is based on. Joseph Campbell wrote The Power of Myth.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And he
Boy,
was
it was
this-
hard to crowbar that out of you.
He was this amazing. He was this amazing professor at the University of Hawaii, and when we would go to
What?
Hawaii every year and do the show for 2 weeks. Steve Dahl
Hawaii.
and Gary Meyer,
Yes.
and the very first person, I had a couple of days off and I wanted to meet Joseph Campbell, and he died
Joseph.
right before I got to meet him. So
You think it was suicide?
no.
What does my day look like today?
The number one series on PBS of all time is Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth.
What does he sound like?
He talks about you would love him.
what
You
does
would
he
love The
sound
Power of Myth.
The Power of Myth. Yes.
He did the series with Bill Moyers.
Bill Moyers. Bill Moyers and I go through the flesh paddle. The flesh paddle that I first discovered with the Indians of Amsterdam. I was a British explorer hired by the Dutch to find a new passageway to West India to bring the riches of that world back to Queen Elizabeth. By mistake, I stumbled over the Western world. That's when I came through the canal. The canal was not as wide as it was when we first had gone there. I said, let's widen the canal. What do we do that with? Our flesh paddles. I began to widen the Spanish Canal with my flesh paddle. I said to Dan Filato, I know it's odd for you to use your flesh paddle for this particular task, but are you willing to do it? He was open-minded, open-assed, and open-wonder. By the end of the day, we were covered in
There
blood.
is no quirky person like that you admire.
Quirky person? Yeah, you. What do you mean by quirky? What do you mean? What do you mean, a quirky artist? Listen, Dan, you could argue that Mick Jagger is effeminate. I'm talking about an effeminate sort of you know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying, when you,
Have you been speechless in front of anyone?
Not till now. Well, listen, first time I met Howard, it was difficult 'cause it was on the air, first of all.
Howard was another person.
Here's the guy. Here's the thing. To me, it's justified and not a little odd when you meet someone who was a huge hero to yours as a kid. Like when you literally, and that falls into the category with guys usually, athletes, rock stars. I mean, your favorite movie star, stuff like that. So Howard, I became a comedian because of him, and now I'm like, okay, I'm working with him. That wasn't all. Mostly because it was a dream come true. I will say this is where women have it over on men. They're much more mature than us. I don't think women have this the way guys do. I don't think they have like that hero that, they are over they sort of goof on it. Like, oh, come on. I got to do laundry or something, it's a hot guy, but that could be someone they met 2 hours before. It's just shallow. It's like, oh, he's hot. He's Chris Bryant hot. So, I don't know, man. I'm not mocking on you for having a hero like that.
Have you ever met Dylan?
Bob Dylan?
Yes.
No, never met Bob Dylan. I don't think that would be, I don't want to because I have a feeling that would be a disappointing meeting for both of us. I don't think he would care, and I would be like, okay, he doesn't care. Bruce Springsteen, I met for the first time. Very, very awkward. I've now met him about 5 or 6 times. The last time was less awkward. He was cool.
My exact words to him is, you meant so much to me growing up, your songs. I don't want to say anything stupid. That's what I said to Bruce.
But you did, though, because you probably heard that a million times. Again, you know what, Dan? Who's going to say something better? That's it. What do you say to the guy? The problem is when you say it, you realize you're the billionth guy who said it. It's got nothing wrong with you. It's like, what do you say? What do you say? I mean, I had the same exact conversation with Bruce Springsteen as I did with Greg Allman within a year. Because what do you say? I mean, obviously, Allman's not as big as Bruce is, but I am a fan. So I met Greg Allman backstage at the Beacon Theater because I was about to do stand-up there 2 days before. And they asked me to come in for a quick photo shoot, because it was for the New York Comedy Festival. And the Allman Brothers were there doing a sound check. And I went up to him, and I got up enough guts and said, hey, Greg, by the way, my name's Artie Lang. I'm a comedian. You shouldn't know me, but I want to say your music's meant a lot to me over the years. He went, all right, man, thanks. Okay. Okay, about a month later, About a month later, through connections, my buddy Timmy got a guy at a place called the Starland Ballroom, a place I have now played. It used to be called the Hunka Bunka Ballroom in the 80s. Staten Island place that was in Jersey, but close to Staten Island. So it was a Guido Central. It looked like a Guido atom bomb landed in the middle of the place in the late 80s. And the men's room there was covered in cocaine. Like if the decorator said, we're going to decorate this in cocaine. It was hard to see through it. Changed owners since. Live venue now, and they have comics, mostly bands. And a rare Jersey comic who could fill the place, they'll take the effort to up the ticket price because they know people will be into it and not rip people off and put folding chairs down and do it. So I played there a couple times. So the guys who run that place are grateful to me because we made each other money. Springsteen goes there quite a bit because there's charities there that he's very involved with. The Light of Day Foundation they do with Michael J. Fox. And Bruce is one of those guys who, even at this iconic level, will do shit like that. He will do charity like that without forgetting, especially if you promise. And I did. So like Greg Allman, he was there, and I walked up to him. The guy said, yeah, go ahead, And I realized he knew who I was through Howard. And I said, hey, Bruce, man, I just want to say your music's meant a lot to me. All right, man, thanks a lot. Same exact thing Greg Allman said in the same rasp. And it wasn't until years later that I crashed and burned and fell into the mountain because I OD'd on heroin that Bruce called me at home. Your fans know the story. And there's new subscribers, whatever. He called me at home. Get Crash and Burn. It's in the whole book. Bruce Springsteen called me at home. Got my number because I was a big fan. He knew it would mean a lot to me because I was getting out of rehab, trying to get back on my feet. And we had an hour-and-a-half conversation. It was very, very unbelievable. Then I saw him again in Paris, and I gave him a big hug, and I thanked him for that phone call. I said, Bruce, I beat heroin. Thanks, buddy. And a day later, I was in jail for public drunkenness. In Paris and back on heroin. And then, of course, I met Bruce a year later, in Connecticut at a gig he did. My fiance Adrian at the time, and Timmy Sullivan, Bruce, a guy who Bruce knows well. We went into the back, and just me, Bruce, Adrian, and Timmy. And Bruce, it was by then, an example, Danny, I could ask you this if this happened to you. By then, the fourth meeting, including phone conversations, I was comfortable enough to have small talk with him and chatter, and he was cool, and we took a nice picture with Adrian, and I was gone. So by then, I had gotten more comfortable with him. Do you think that's possible with you and Rick Steves, the fourth or fifth time, with a year or 8 months in between, you could get that way with him?
Boy, I don't know.
Wow, Dan, that is a very strong statement.
I don't know. What do you want me to fucking say?
Nothing. Are you telling me the truth?
The same thing.
It's extraordinary.
Mark got him to leave a message on my machine for my birthday.
Steve's?
Rick Steves, yeah.
Do you have that message?
It's back in
Dude,
Chicago.
okay, here's one thing, man. You want to, now you're doing it. I want the Madonna tapes. I want that tape. You want to help this fucking podcast? You want to really promote something on the Twitter? I want those tapes.
We have to get Madonna.
We
have to get Madonna to say that we can record. We can play
I'll
it.
take the responsibility. I want her to sue me. I want that press. Okay? I'll take the responsibility. Dan Filato. For people
the last time I came home,
okay.
I went and looked for those tapes.
I have thousands of cassette tapes. Don't tell me they're lost.
No,
the one with Madonna on it. You didn't put a little check on.
I have actresses outside saying that they're going to stab me in the heart.
What does that mean? So I'm talking about Madonna. Look the way you tease stuff. You're always like, I get actresses. You blurt shit out, man. Don't blurt shit out without me asking about. So I challenge you here, Dan. With me taking the responsibility liably, I'll sign whatever the fuck you want. I want the publicity. For the people who didn't hear on DirecTV, Dan claims, could be bullshit, claims to have...
I could get sued if it weren't true.
Stop it.
I could get sued if it weren't true. That's slander.
Dan, no one heard our show. Dan claims to have... That's true. Dan claims to have a voicemail recording on a cassette tape back in the ancient years when that happened. A cassette tape that was a voicemail recording when he lived with Mark Grace of the Cubs. Madonna calling up, basically begging Mark Grace to date her, that kind of thing. Okay,
the first three calls were her assistant.
Okay,
and when
then
they were not returned,
now the plot thickens. Was it Madonna?
When they were not returned, then the fourth one was from Madonna.
Okay, that tape, we begged them at DirecTV for a little publicity. No. And I banked it. I said, you know what? Maybe this ain't the show. Maybe Dan and I are going to be in my kitchen 2 years from now, desperately trying to fucking put food on our table. Me desperately trying to keep my mother out of a home where they don't properly put the IV in. Now, look, I'm not like this. I'm enlightened. I've moved on. But my mom, my poor mother,
I'll do it for Judy.
the way she thinks, my poor mother is not only in a home, but a home where an African American is bathing her. Now, to the Italian people, this is very strong. My mother, where a woman from Honduras is putting an IV in her. I don't think like this. I'm enlightened. And my mother doesn't either. It's how she was brought up. So, Dan, to prevent my mother from ever seeing an African-American woman hold down her foot while a Honduras woman puts an IV in her. And me to pay my bills. Well, Dan, eventually, I will lose appendages to diabetes. I will lose them. Now, you getting us this tape might be the difference between me getting it done professionally or on the black market. Or me hiring a guy underneath the George Washington Bridge in a Dominican heroin den with a saw he got at Ace Hardware. Okay? Because I bought 8 bricks of cocaine and 4 bricks of H in enough time to where I get the bonus of a saw, and he cuts off my foot like that without anesthesia, or I get it done in a hospital. That's the difference if you bring that tape in. It's no longer am I going to get my elevator fixed at my mansion down the shore. Okay? Now we got real problems. All right? Now we're facing homeless in a February Chicago. While you look over and Joan and John Cusack are shooting their new sitcom. Feet from a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful heated trailer that Chris O'Donnell is learning his lines in.
COD.
The whole crew is there. COD. LL Cool J is acting all Chicago. And Dennis Farina's dead. Okay.
And
so
not mentioned in the
So
Oscars.
Dan Filato, guys, for the new fans of the podcast, has a tape of Madonna on his voicemail when he lived with Mark Grace in Chicago, basically begging to get fucked by Mark Grace. Basically, let's cut through the front lines. On top of that now...
And when Mark wouldn't go out with her, she decided to go out with Dennis Rodman.
Okay, plus Pickens. He has that tape. He refuses to bring it in to let me. You want to be a team player? You know the hours of fun? The hours of fun we could have playing that tape, as long as Gino and Chris don't say anything. As long as Gino and Chris don't think of something they feel is funny, and Crowbar, and the hours of fun. So what else did you just say you had that started this whole thing? Okay, you have that. You have the Madonna thing, and you said, what about the Rick Steves?
I have the Rick Steves called me and wished me happy birthday. It would have been 1999.
Listen, Dan, it's Rick. I got a call from that man you live with, Mr. Mays, or something. Apparently he plays first. He's the home run bagger for the Chicago Cubbies. Apparently he made a home run this afternoon. Ooh, I love baseball, especially the Bob Redford film where he plays the greatest hitter who's ever lived. Did I tell you I spent a week at Martha's Vineyard with Robert Prosky? I'll get into that later. I'm coming through the back door, Dan. I want those tapes, and I want to play them uncensored. Madonna begging to fuck... Madonna worshiping Mark Grace's cock, and Rick Steves going, I worship Mark Grace's cock. We've said a lot here today.
This first class is going from...
Dan's hero.
It's going to go from the medieval period, from 500,
Period.
the fall of Rome, until 1400.
Having my period.
There's another class that is Renaissance and Baroque, going from 1400 to 1800, and then the final class...
That's what we're
takes
gonna
us
be,
from the Eighth
Baroque,
Revolution
if you don't fucking
right up
do
to
this.
our crazy time. I do want to stress that there are going to be no tests, okay? This is fun.
HIV.
I'm going to compromise a little bit on completeness and see, just to make it really simple so you can get your brains around it. We're not scholars here. We're Eurocentric.
We're Eurocentric.
And we're talking about what really matters to your sightseeing.
You don't have to
And we're gonna
completely
take
cover
this-
my face and come. We're not going to cover completeness. There could be a little bit of flesh visible on my face. The rest covered in your jizz.
You don't see my point at all. You don't see...
Dan, what I don't see is that speck of skin not covered in jizz. No, Dan. Again, I'm not getting it. I'm not mocking you.
Oh,
I'm not. Because I respect you.
If we had recorded this last hour and 19 minutes,
You know what? This is one I could easily get back the enthusiasm back up for. This is easy. If Dan, I could be like on my deathbed, no energy left, and you go, Art, do you think you do a 4-hour podcast? I can't do it. Well, we'll talk about the 27 Yankees. No, I can't do it. The night your father, no, I can't do it. The fact that Dan likes Rick Steves, yeah, get the microphone. I'm in, baby. 4 to 5 hours. Fascinating. Hi, Rick. Hi, Rick. It's Dan. Dan, I'm over at WGN. Hi, Dan. It's Rick. How are you?
he was
Well, now my fucking goal is now to get Rick Steves in here.
he was supposed to come in to a radio show that I was producing, and the date he was supposed to come in,
Yeah.
September 11th, 2001.
Wow.
He obviously called and canceled.
Wow. What if he didn't? Listen, Afghanistan, Muhammad Atta just came in through the back door.
That is a God's honest truth.
Let me ask you this, Dan.
swear
I
on my
want
life.
you to fucking be dead honest with me. Say because of crazy circumstances, there's no space. We're all forced to share beds. You share a double bed in a motel. No one else in the room with Rick Steves, and he makes a move.
He would not make a move.
Do you stop him? say Rick Steves goes, Dan, listen, I know I have a wife, I know you have a wife, whatever. But I do admire
of the
the
two of
fact
us-
that you like me so much.
Of the two of us, I wasn't the one in prison, okay?
What does that mean? They send straight guys to prison.
Yeah.
Or as Rick Steves
But whatever happens in prison,
as Rick Steves calls it, sandals. God, are you kidding me? I'm with him in this color me there.
there is no quirky writer.
Quirky, what are you talking about, Dan? Quirky, what
That you would be-
define the euphemism quirky. Gay. You're talking about gay.
no.
Yes, quirky means gay here, buddy. And of course, I love a lot of gay writers. I love a lot of gay artists.
Did you ever meet Hunter Thompson?
Never met him, but I admire him to
Don't
death.
you think- would
He's a
you-
man. He's a guy's a dude. Guns. What do you mean, whatever? What does that look? Whatever.
Well, would you have?
What? Would I have what?
Would you?
Fuck him? What's the question?
No. Would you have been awestruck in front of him?
Not as much as other people. No, he's not as big as Bruce Springsteen to me. You're talking as big as Bruce Springsteen? That's a fucking short list, buddy.
Who else is as big as Bruce Springsteen to you?
No, not really many people. I mean, if you're talking about, okay, listen, you're going to allow me that immature, no one should be, is the question. My mother, my family.
Right. No,
Those
I'm
are
talking
mature,
about-
the
right.
mature answers as you grow older. No. What's important to me now, and it's been important to me since I've been about, 15, 16 years old, or since certainly when I was 18, since my father fell, what's big to me now is the thought of supporting the people I love. Of course, that's what I think. I'm a man. So if you're going to take that off the table and go, okay, let's get childish, be romantic, and be fun like a kid again. Bruce Springsteen's in that category of meeting somebody.
We have to have-
Okay, but okay. So in that category, you're saying just
We
as
have
big-
to hear story upon story ad nauseum about Thurman Munson, and you're going to tell me?
He's dead, first of all.
Yeah, and you're going to tell me that?
Yeah, I
that
was 11, Danny. I'm
you still talk about Thurman Munson.
Dan, I'm explaining how important he was to me as a kid.
Well-
as an 11-year-old kid, that's an American thing. It's a Norman Rockwell kind of thing. And if I met him today, I met his family. It was very extraordinary. I'm saying what you said, Dan, is he's as big as Bruce Springsteen to you, and we're putting ourselves in a world where that's everything, as if you're a kid. You made that statement, not me.
Right.
Is there anybody else? Probably not. Probably not.
I had no problem going up to, talking to, hanging out with Michael Jordan, but Rick Steves I can't.
Okay.
I get nervous.
Fucking weird.
I can't help it. What do you want me to
Wait, you did okay now. Don't get this.
I
angry.
can't help it.
Dan, don't get mad at me.
I can't help it.
You're getting
It's
mad at
something
me.
that I
What
can't
are you
help it.
mad at me for?
I'm not mad at you. But
listen,
how can I explain it? I can't explain it.
Listen, get back in the closet. I don't want to be the first person you see and kill. No, Dan. Again, I'm busting your balls. I don't think that's the issue. I'm thinking it's odd, and just I admire you for admitting that. I'm saying I don't think I have someone as big as Bruce. And the fact that your guy isn't Michael Jordan, and it would make total
Because
sense.
I hung out with him a lot. You lose that.
You just said, though, you don't know if you could ever do it with Rick Steves. I just said to you, would you ever lose that? You said, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Well, Dan, that is extraordinary. Could you ever lose it with Bruce? Could you ever hang out with him enough?
Probably not.
Until he finds out about the Rick
songs
Steves
meant
thing.
so much to me. I don't think.
So
I
you're
could.
comparing that with the fact that this guy figured out that, there's an easier way to paddle to Lucerne than Dan. That's the other thing that's weird.
He has got something.
That's the other thing that's weird. Putting Springsteen and his work with Rick Steves is, come on,
Well,
dude.
I'm not putting him in the same
You
category.
just said you feel the same way.
No. I said, obviously, Bruce is an amazing, incredible, genius artist. But
Well, what? Rick Steves is what?
But Rick has some gene in him
What is the gene you're
that
talking
he
about?
can
Do
small talk with people that I can't.
Dan, what the fuck are you talking about? You can say that about Ryan Seacrest.
No,
Yes, you can.
I can't.
Dan, what is Ryan Seacrest's talent? Small
Yeah,
talk. You could say that about Bill O'Reilly. You could say that about
It's
any successful comedian on the planet. Matter of fact, they're more impressive than Rick Steves because he can't be funny doing it unless you laugh at him. You're comparing the writing of Bruce Springsteen, the first album alone, to an effeminate guy with glasses going.
It's apples and oranges. They're two
Exactly.
different things.
Exactly.
It's two different things. I
Dan,
admire.
you're arguing my argument. Yeah, they are. They're two very different things. It's odd that you feel the same way.
But
about
how can you make a statement like it's such an odd thing? It's not an odd thing.
It's for Dan.
He's good.
I guarantee there's not one person listening, unless they want to break my balls and take the opposite opinion, because they want to create an argument. And we will be taking those calls tomorrow. I want you people to listen to this tonight.
The show's booked up tomorrow.
Everybody's going to think the same as me. Everybody.
Well,
Who's on the show tomorrow?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you better start remembering, pal.
It ain't Rick Steves, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll get him. I'm gonna I'll kidnap that fruit. I will get him here. Listen, Artie, is this the back door? No, we're going very much through the front door, Steve.
Oh, booking through the back door.
Dan, I just think it is crazy on some levels, but I love it. It's a craziness I love. It's not boring. It's me going into the world.
There was not disappointment when I met the one time I met Rick Steves. There's been huge disappointment in other
Like
major
me.
celebrities.
How disappointing am I?
No,
But wait, Dan, you knew him for 4 seconds. What do you mean there wasn't disappointment?
It just wasn't.
So you're in the bed, and Rick Steves like, listen, Dan, you've been wearing that Cub hat, so it's so cumbersome. It's so cumbersome. I just want to tell you about.
He is the number one money raiser for PBS. I'm just going to tell you that.
And he likes pushing
more than Downton Abbey.
Yeah, and he likes pushing number 2, right up a hill. Right up a hill. Listen, Dan, there's mud on the helmet. Do you think? Okay, here you go. If you get, I give you a deal. It's the devil. It's whoever. It has the power to make this happen. If you don't give me your honest answer and what you think is truthful, you and your family are dead. Shot in the head. Okay?
Okay.
Point blank. With a 9mm caliber style. Do you think Rick Steves, even just once, has either had or contemplated gay sex?
No.
Okay. I think you're all dead.
Okay, well, you have to do an interview now at Stuttering John
I
in
don't
Los
think
Angeles.
I can do it. I don't think I can do it.
You have to do it.
I think I'm going to shout this from the mountaintops. Who's ever our guest tomorrow on the show, guys, get ready. Because the title's going to be...
Should we just call him up on the show, Stuttering John?
Because the title's going to be, Artie tells everyone he meets from this point in his life on. With a cassette tape of Rick Steves always on him to prove it. That this guy and Bruce Springsteen are the only two people Dan can't be in the same room with. I'm Rick Steves. We're taking a break on the Artie Lang podcast. I'm going through the back door, motherfucker. Back with Lucerne. That is...
Sal?
Yes.
Okay, great. You can hear us. Okay. Artie just ran to the bathroom real quick. And
Okay.
so what do you think? Flippin is very worried. I said before the series that our immigrant players don't play well in the cold. Because in April, we sucked. And Flippin is like, oh no, you're going back to Wrigley. I just don't think we have a chance.
Yeah, Flippin's worried, but he's always worried. I think the Mets are going to sweep.
He did not. Here's a funny part for you. He forgot to record the first 45 minutes of the show yesterday because he was so in his Mets zone. He was like so freaked out about
God.
it. Oh, ask Artie. Ask Artie about it.
I was going to say, did Artie kill him for that?
Oh no, Artie. It was really good. But in that 45 minutes, we talk about how our jobs haven't suffered because the Cubs are playing the Mets, and then Flippin forgot to hit the record button. It was such a payback. It was such karma on the both of us.
That is funny.
Because we both were like screaming at Artie. Our jobs haven't suffered. There are guests here. What do you care?
That's funny.
But it was, and then he forgot to hit the record button. Well, no, he forgot to check the chip, and it didn't record right.
Oh my God.
Dude, I've told him. I've seen tweets where he wants to like fly out to Los Angeles and kill people. I go, dude, relax.
There definitely should be a watch out for Flippin.
Yeah.
He's got issues.
Yeah.
Where is he there? Is he working with you guys?
No, he's it was too much for him today because of the game tonight.
Oh, right. All right. Yeah, he's a sick dude.
He needs a woman and he needs a hobby other than.
That's a good point.
And he's going to be hearing all this too when he edits the show.
He needs a woman into the Mets. Rusty stoppage is perfect. Hello.
All right, here you go.
Are we ready? Are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, this voice is the voice of, the voice of not the Mets. It's the voice of the average Yankee fan. If they gave Yankee fan voices their own wing in the Hall of Fame, that's right. It'd be me and Dale Berra's wife. But the guy who's the voice of the Mets to a lot of people of this generation is my next guest, and I'm a big fan. And I'm happy to have him here. Please welcome, of course. Wait, excuse me. Sid from Imus? No. Of course, Sal Licata. Sal from SNY, from Sports Network. Sal Licata, the voice of the Mets on pregame, right? Lacosta?
It doesn't matter. This will be the first time that people hear me anyway. So
how about
you can call me whatever you want?
Veal Piccata Sal Colada? That's a nickname. No, Sal. Honestly, I'm a fan, and I appreciate you coming on to kill some time with us and talk some Met baseball because it's the hottest thing in town. As a Yankee fan, I got to give it up. This is a Met town, brother.
Yeah, I mean, look, Artie, I can't even believe that it's happening. I mean, it's been 9 years since they've been in the playoffs. I mean, they've been brutal, as you know, for the last 5-6 years. The fact that they are 2 wins away from the World Series is just, it's exciting and both remarkable at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, again, 1986 is, a long time ago now. How old are you, Sal?
I was 6 in 86. I'm 36 years old right now, so it's about 29 years.
Right. I'm 48. And so I was, 19 years old when that postseason unraveled. And people forget, of course, not only how amazing the World Series was, that postseason was legendary. I mean, legendary. And the fact that the Mets came out on top look, it's long enough ago to where not a lot of people are still with us, from Gary Carter on down. Davey Johnson. Where did you grow up exactly?
I grew up on Ronkonkoma, Long Island, and it's funny. It's funny because of being a Mets fan back then. Obviously, when you're 6 years old or whatever it is, the Mets were the team back then. The Yankees stunk. I never thought I'd see the Yankees in the postseason in my entire life. So then obviously what happened in the 90s,
right?
Had to live through that nonsense. But now, it seems like it's favoring back toward the Mets.
All of a sudden, the Jeter era comes up, and you got exactly that came out of nowhere for a lot of people because it was a Met town. And then, Jeter comes in and that whole Rivera, Core 4, Torrey with a comeback. And A lot of people thought Torre's career was over, but and the Mets became second fiddle. But I'll tell you what, this town really energizes when the Mets are good, like no other thing you've ever seen. You know, it's funny, Ronkonkoma, David Letterman, I was a regular on Letterman show for a while, and he loved sports humor, and I never did this bit anywhere else because Howard thought it was boring, and I couldn't really do it in stand-up. But I told this story to a segment producer on Letterman, and he said, oh, he'll love that. And he used to make me repeat it, and fans love it. This is a true story. A guy who sat behind me when I had season tickets at a Yankee game, I was fourth row behind third. So they were good seats, usually sophisticated people. But around the eighth inning, everybody's loaded. This same kid, for 8 years, this same kid, when Jeter got up in a big situation, drunkenly, you'd feel like his warm beer spit on the back of my neck when he said this. Come on, Jeter! Do it for Ron Ronkonkoma! Screaming, do it for Ronkonkoma! And, you know, you picture Jeter, thinking about not only the at-bat, but whatever broad he's banging right after the show. Like, he's not thinking about Ronkonkoma at all. Unless Carmen Electra's from Ronkonkoma, Jeter's not going there. The New York area, was Ronkonkoma Yankee town, or was that more of Met territory?
No, I think it was. I just think it was an era where mostly Mets fans, especially like I said, at young age group, because the Mets were the team in town. So
Right.
one of my best friends growing up was a Yankee fan, so I don't know if it was necessarily the town per se, but I think at that time it was more Met, which is, again, hard to believe for people that are younger than you or I.
Yeah. But look, let's look at this Met team. Obviously, they have as good a chance as anybody's left in the four. I mean, a lot of people think, a lot of analysts think it's impossible for the Cubs to come back. I happen to agree, but magic stuff happens in baseball. You got the Michael J. Fox Back to the Future thing, which really is crazy when you think about it. 2000.
That is crazy.
It is. Out of all the years they could have written into that thing. But, what about the future if they don't make it as far as like Matt Harvey? He's an amazing talent, a little flaky here and there. I think they overreacted when he didn't, make a workout because of, doing God knows what. Tom Seaver, Joe Namath in 72, if they missed a workout, they're probably like, look, there's a dead hooker somewhere.
Well, I'm sure you know what he was doing. I mean, he was out with his boys and probably out with some girl after that.
That's what I mean. Joe Namath and those guys back then, everyone tolerated. No one asked. Babe Ruth. I mean, look, they figured, exactly. There's a hooker with a bruise on her head somewhere and a fistful of money and an order to stay quiet. You know what? David Wright in particular at that press conference seemed annoyed. He was like, I'm focusing with the guys who showed up here and had a good workout.
Right.
So an indirect passive-aggressive thing. And Harvey came off a little arrogant, but goes out, throws a great game. What do you think about the future of the Mets? I think
it's good. Now, two things. Number one, you said that they have a good shot to win the World Series. I couldn't believe this, that the Mets are now favored. Somebody was telling me before downstairs they're actually betting favorites to win the World Series after those first two games against the Cubs. But looking forward, because of the young pitching, you have to believe they're at least going to be a consistent playoff contender. Will they win? Will they be a dynasty? Who the hell knows? The offense, the team's going to look completely different next year. Who knows what happens with Murphy? Obviously, with Cespedes, you have to figure they're not going to pay him all that money. So it'll be different, but the young pitching is the one thing that's going to be consistent, and it's going to be here for at least 3-4 years. So you'd have to believe that alone will make them contenders for at least a wild card and division spot for the next few years.
Right, you're right. You hit a good point there. The wild card really throws a monkey wrench into it. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. And you hit the key, young pitching. That's it, man. That's the key. That people have said that about why Sinatra toured till he was in his 80s. A version of young pitching in music and, of course, entertainment, young pussy. If you have young pussy around you. And Quincy Jones himself told me that. He said Lionel Hampton, the famous jazz musician, was touring at 88 years old. And I said to him, I knew Quincy because he produced Mad TV. I said, Quince, why is that? He said, 2 words, motherfucker, young pussy. And I think the reason the Mets might be, of course, you could pretend you never did this interview, but because you have a corporate job. But if you ask anybody in baseball that, it's 2 words: young pitching, and they have it. Matt Harvey does look like his ass tends to get a little big. Matt Harvey, did you notice that he gains weight in his ass like a Sid?
No, well, you could also see it in his belly. Matt Harvey's got, and already think back to a year ago when he was talking about, he's posing nude in ESPN the magazine, how his eyes pop with shirts. Matt Harvey's certainly been enjoying himself in the off season, and even in the clubhouse in the locker room afterwards, you see him smoking a cigarette, drinking Coors Light.
Right.
So Harvey, no question, like that, some fun.
Do you think it's odd that my producer Dan Filato, when I asked him about Chris Bryant on the Cubs, the third thing he said after like they say a 5-tool player, the third thing he said was he's good looking? That's the third. He said he's a good hitter, good arm, good looking kid, and I questioned him on it.
He had to keep that number 17 good looking legacy.
Well, no, I mean, again, so he thought Mark was good looking, a guy he lived with for a while. Your thoughts on this? I mean, do you think that's a little creepy?
6-tool player, I guess. Chris Bryant. I do think it's a little odd. Yeah.
I mean, you go to I don't know how far down good looking would be when I described it.
Mark was number 17 because
why? Because he's good, bad looking.
Sal.
What's that? Oh, Mark loved Keith Hernandez going
yes.
up. Lefty first baseman.
Right. Yeah. This awkward moment from Dan Filato brought to you by Budweiser.
Cubs.
Thank you.
Cubs Mets bonding.
Do you know who Rick Steves is?
I do not.
You do not? Okay. Right, of course not. Rick Steves is just Google him. He's Dan's hero. And it might explain
that and Bruce Springsteen.
Him and Bruce Springsteen, well, that makes sense, but it might explain the good-looking thing with Chris Bryant a little bit better when Rick Steves is a very feminine host on the Travel Channel. I'm not even kidding. Look it up. Now, as far as Curtis Granderson, now here's a guy who was a Yankee.
Chicago kid.
Again, Chicago kid, good-looking kid. What do you think of him? I happen to like the guy. What do you think of Curtis Granderson? Do you think
I hated him after the first year and a half because the Mets gave him all this money to be a cleanup hitter. They thought he was going to hit 30, 40 home runs like he did as a Yankee and be that middle of the order bat. Clearly, he was not that, and they gave him that money when a team that doesn't spend a lot of money. He struggled last year. This year, though, he started off slow, and then he started to really do a nice job in the leadoff spot. They brought in the other pieces, which took some of the pressure off him. Didn't need to be that home run hitter, and he's been great. I mean, he is locked in. If he doesn't swing, it is not a strike. Right. Not only that, this from being a Yankee fan, he never hit in the postseason. Here, he's raking in the postseason. It's hard to believe, but he's been terrific. And defensively too. Robin home run the other night.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but it's true. I think a lot of players who have nice characters. Like, I think Curtis Granderson is clearly a good guy. He seems like a good, solid human being, nice person, and he's in that Yankee circus, and I think he didn't love it there. I don't think he was able to thrive there. If you're a fan of the film Sideways, as I am, the Pinot Noir grape needs very gentle breeze to help it grow, help it flourish, and I don't think you get that at the Yankees. At the Mets, you get a nice, gentle, well, I'll call it homosexual type breeze that you get from the front office. They're very, very, very sensitive. Yankee people are more like Thurman Munson, like, play. You need to be more sensitive with the Met. The Met player needs to be caressed. He needs to be, caressed in oils and brushed down with. He needs Salon Selective shampoo level 6. A lot of them for David Wright to get that hair. And I think that Curtis Granderson needed that. And now that he has that nurturing from the Mets front office, that Liberace needed for that second album, I think he's doing better. Your thoughts on that?
I think the Met fan needs that as well. I think there is something to that, and it seems to fit Granderson and certainly the Met fan. Yeah.
He's again. I think he's flourishing in a way at the Mets he couldn't at the Yankees because it's more of a mean atmosphere at the Yankees, more of an.
Well, they let him be himself. He's not necessarily a vocal leader in the clubhouse, but he does his thing. He's obviously great off the field, all the charity work, stuff like that. He's just a kid who wants to go out there and have some fun playing the game he loves, and kind of got overlooked in that, as you said, that locker room of the Yankees.
They take fun out of it at the Yankees a little bit. They do, I think it comes down from A-Rod, too. A-Rod and that arrogance, those pink, pillowy lips. that he was born with. I don't think he got that enhanced at all, which I think he was born with it. Did you see him on that morning show on ESPN the other day when he overthrew the football?
Yeah, he broke that monitor at Fox. I wonder who's paying for that. You think A-Rod goes out of pocket, or is that Fox?
Oh, I know, exactly. A-Rod probably had it on him, whatever it cost. Whatever a whore costs on that side of town. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I don't want to bring you into this ugly. But 32.
Him and Rose must have made a bet to see who could get in the most trouble first.
Listen, at least Pete Rose is off field problems were sort of like, likable, manly, guys get a beer type problem. This guy is so aloof. And, look, he overthrew the football because he's doing something that he just doesn't care about. And I think that's what baseball's become for him. And I don't think he has a career after the game. Do you think is anyone going to put him in the booth, do you think, doing kind of like, would you share a booth with A-Rod doing what you do?
Hey, if they pay me enough money, I'd do anything at this point. What are you kidding? I need work. You're talking to you just to get some publicity. You know what I mean? Come on,
but do you think he'd even be offered it, A-Rod?
Well, he already got. I'm assuming he got a boatload of money to be on Fox for this postseason coverage.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if they'll have it be a regular thing with him, but I do think there'll be a job in TV waiting for him if he wants, because he's a polarizing figure.
Let me ask you this question: do you think James Flippin, our audio guy, could do the audio for A-Rod?
Oh my God, James Flippin! What are you guys doing with Flippin? Flippin is a nut job when I work with him over at OR.
I was gonna say,
out of control.
You know Flippin well, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen, again, I think that James' obsession with his sports teams, and I'll say especially the Mets, is affecting other areas of his life. Like, I think it's affecting, his love life and the fact that he doesn't have one, a romantic. I do think maybe he has, a blow-up doll dressed like Mr. Met from 1972.
I would not be shocked.
Yeah.
With stab wounds in it.
I think I put it this way. I think, and this is an odd stat, but I would say that the detectives and the FBI stationed around the area that Flippin lives should look into 24-year-old hookers with noticeable bruises that for some reason know every word to the song Meet the Mets. Then what did he make you do? Meet the Mets.
Sing it again.
Sing it again, honey. Sing it again.
He's got some anger issues, I think, when it comes to the Mets. No question.
Okay, you're going to be stretched out naked like Ron Swoboda. I think if James Flippin were in film school, he'd try to remake The Godfather with all 69 Mets, like instead of Don Corleone, like Don Clendenin. Tom Hagen is Tom Seaver. It would be very, very odd. Very odd. Well, I don't know. I think that the Met fan is the more passionate of the New York fans than the Yankee fans because, again, we're jaded as Yankee fans. A Met fan, Met fan's that kind of Irish guy from Queens, a bit of a beer gut at 14 years old, freckles. He wears orange socks sometimes, and those blue Met sneakers, those Met fluorescent strip club bouncer jackets from the 70s, can quote Casey Stengel, even when it doesn't make any sense. And they seem like they don't have a lot else going on in their life except are they going to be able to get a fitted Met hat for the playoffs? And how are they going to afford it? They don't seem to have a lot going on.
He comes in.
Here's what I think it comes down to, and I always said this: the losing in sports, and most of the time as sports fans, you endure losing. The losing is what makes the winning so much more fun. So in '96. That was a passionate Yankee fan base. It went away because they continued to win. Right now, you're feeling the passion from the Met fan because they've been starved. I mean, they haven't won a World Series in 29 years. They haven't been to a World Series in 16 years. And the playoffs in 9 years.
1945, 1908. You know,
Well, what about it? Oh, you're talking about the Cubs. Dan throws out stats that don't make any sense.
The Cubs fans are frauds, though. I mean, they just want to go to the game.
Oh,
and they don't care about
you.
the game.
It is a very,
Fucking
very.
maniac.
No, I think he's bringing up a good point. It's not. They're not baseball fans. It's like the Laker fans
Oh,
going
yeah,
to Laker
whatever.
games. It is.
Right.
He's right.
Yeah, okay.
He's right. They're like Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston in the breakup. You know.
Yeah,
they're-
okay.
And John Favreau. What an acting job that is. Pretending
Yeah.
he's seen a baseball game in his life.
They wanted to film that at Shea Stadium, but they were afraid the cameras would get stolen.
Well, also.
Oh, come on.
Also, because it was about the Cubs, it would have been weird. Wait. First of all, is that like a crime joke about New York?
Yes.
Check out the murder rate in Chi-Town,
Yeah,
buddy.
okay, whatever.
You know exactly. I mean, where's bad Leroy Brown from? It ain't the South Side of New York, motherfucker. But it ain't where the Cubs play too. How about this? The racism still exists outside Wrigley Field. I saw a white girl hugging the Ernie Banks statue. The statue of Hack Wilson was mad, clearly upset. I don't know. I think Bernie Banks was getting a blowjob from a white chick who was bar hopping the statue, and he said, "Let's blow too." And he got his teammate blown. Let's blow too. Your favorite Met of all time? Who's your favorite Met of all time?
Man, that's a tough one. It changes from different eras. I'd probably go Piazza. I know you love him, but Piazza just gave me so many different moments. Nobody captured the moment like Mike Piazza with the big home run.
All right.
So I'd say, plus he's Italian. I mean, come on.
Do you have a
Changed the franchise when they got him? I love Piazza.
Do you have a favorite heterosexual Met? Did I make that clear? I'm sorry.
I'd say Wright or Harvey, but I'm not so sure that's the most either.
No, listen, Piazza. Listen, he was always clutch. I enjoyed Piazza. He made the last out in the 2000 series. That's why I love him.
I thought that ball was gone.
You know what? That's true. Not enough people talk about that. I was with my friends Boomer Seisenhead and sports bar on the Upper West Side in the late 90s, early 2000s, mid 90s into the early 2000s, called Boomers. And it was, jet green awning, really an awful paint job of failure over the whole place. But in the back, you could sit down and do coke right off the table because no one was there. And you weren't, it was the kind of place where not only were you afraid, that you weren't afraid the waitress would see you, you were buying the coke from the waitress. And if you ordered white pizza there, you didn't get pizza. Is what I'm pointing. But that's where we watched it. And when that ball was hit, we're all Yankee fans. All of us were like, "Whoa!" We thought it was gone, but of course it wasn't, and the Yankees won.
Yes, I remember. That was one of the worst sports moments of my life at the upper level at Shea, watching the Yankees celebrate a World Series win over the Mets. That was awful.
Do you like any Mets who are African American?
Of course, all of them. Yeah.
All of them African American. How about Mookie Wilson?
Loving Darryl and Doc.
How about Mookie Wilson?
He was my mom's favorite.
Was he really?
Yeah, she loved him.
Well, listen, he was involved in that play in 1986. I mean, do you think Buckner is the real GOAT of that? I think Stanley for throwing the wild pitch. Your thoughts?
Yeah, people don't talk about that enough because Buckner made the error. But at that point, the game was already tied, and being a sports fan, you watch these games. Once the game is tied, all the pressure's off. Everything is different.
Right.
So the game was, in my opinion, the game was already lost at that point. The Buckner thing just sealed it.
Yeah, the Mets have home field advantage, tie game, clearly all the momentum in the world, but before you know it, Vince Scully goes and the Mets win it. It's
behind the bag.
right.
Great call.
Exactly. And before, again, talk about curses going away, the Red Sox dominate an era. What about, do you think, does any of you, like, if the Cubs beat the Mets as a National League guy, you rooting for the Cubs in the series no matter who they play?
Good question. I don't know. I like the Royals. I like their fan base. I'd like to see them maybe experience one in the World Series. It's been a while for them, too. So, either way, I wouldn't even be upset if Toronto. I guess out of the four, maybe Toronto will be the least one. But I just like teams that haven't been there in a while. And obviously, in this particular case, we have four teams that haven't won it in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
How about Daniel Murphy? How about, first of all, the fact that little media things that you might not think are that big of a deal, and they aren't in the grand scheme of things, but what a cool coincidence for the media. Daniel Murphy going nuts, and the scapegoat for the Cubs. That goat was named Murphy. Did you know that, Dan?
No, I did not.
Yeah, the name, it was in the paper. I thought Dan would definitely know that. I read it in the paper. The name of the goat that couldn't get in, they wouldn't let into the World Series in 1945, and thereby giving the Cubs their curse because the crazy Chicago guy that owned the goat said, I curse you. Name of the goat? Murphy. Did you know that?
It would be. I just read it too, just like you.
Yeah.
It would be fitting. It would be, to add to the Cubs fan lore about, here we go again, another loss in a championship series. With the curse of Murphy and the GOAT, and Daniel Murphy wins the NLCS MVP. That would be another thing they could add to their chapter.
They'd go nuts, but again, that magic sometimes that comes over players, especially guys on the Mets. If I'm the Cubs, I'm not getting it within a mile of Daniel Murphy's bat. He has just got that magic,
And they keep pitching him inside. It's weird too. The Mets never make the postseason, but when they do, they go on runs. Obviously,
Right.
79 was special. 86 was special. The way that happened. Even the years in 99 and 2000, and 2006, they win series and go deep in these rounds when they do make it. And obviously, this time Murphy's carrying the team. I mean, a 5-game series with the Dodgers. Murphy homering all the best pitchers in baseball. It's crazy.
Did you see the Playboy magazine did a random sort of survey, and they just wanted to see if a pattern formed with certain apps, sexual apps, and they did 10 days in a row. 10 days in a row, each day. The 80% of the people that were within 50 feet of the app Grindr were Mets. Yeah, and they won't give out the names because they would out them, but it's just a random guy went to Flushing, Queens, and hit the app Grindr, and not a Met fan, one of the starting 25 New York Mets was on Grindr, and they won't give out the name, but they did go ahead and have full blown sex with them. Does that annoy you as a Met fan? Does it surprise you? Does it affect?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that app. I have no idea.
Grindr is an app where if you press it within 25 feet, you'll find a guy who'll fuck you in the ass.
Jeez.
Yeah, or
I wouldn't think that would be popular in New York City. Because do you really need an app for that?
Well, in Flushing, you do. Because a lot of guys are in the closet. It could be Archie Bunker. You never know.
I go to the gym. I mean, come on.
Well, Dan, you bring up a good point. Dan, on top of the Rick Steves thing, used to shower at the gym all the time. When I first met him, would actually prefer the gym to shower other than his apartment. Very odd. Your thoughts on it? What do you think?
It was the L.A. Fitness at Rockefeller Center
LA
that
Fitness.
were mostly women.
Yeah.
From
in the
the
shower?
Rockettes.
In
No,
the shower?
working out at the gym.
Well,
for
you
the
were
Rockettes.
with the Cockettes. Mostly men with the Cockettes. Now listen, in all seriousness, Sal, after this interview he has and you're looking for work, what do you...
I'm going to be in big trouble. I need work as it is. This may set me back.
Will you Uber to Grindr?
No.
I'll tell you what, this is odd. Dan, I've seen Dan do this. He's an expert with all those apps. I've seen him at the same time use Tinder, Grindr, and Uber. True. He's actually at 1 a.m. every night. He's able to be in a town car, and he's got a woman watching a guy fuck him in the ass.
That sounds terrific. What a way to finish off the day after taping the podcast.
Have you ever ended a sports interview with that question? Now,
I don't
honestly,
think I've ever in an interview talked a conversation in my life with that.
He interviews. He interviews a lot of Mets, so obviously he has.
Well, I've covered that subject. We've hammered that gay horse joke to death. Give me, in all seriousness, okay, 2-0 over the Cubbies. You're going into Wrigley. Arrieta pitching, right? Is Arrieta throwing? No, he's not. He threw the other day. Who's pitching? Got Lester? Henry. Now, give me the rest of the series. How do you see it playing out? Is it a sweep?
I honestly think they're going to sweep. I mean, this is how sweeps happen. The Mets faced their best pitcher in Game 2 after getting the win they had to in Game 1. They beat Arrieta, take the 2-0 lead. They have their best pitcher now going with DeGrom against Hendrick tomorrow. Is Mets against Jason Hamill. The Mets will hit both those guys. I think the Mets sweep. I really think they sweep.
Yeah, I think the Cubs spirit seems broken, but they were in, Queens last time we saw them. What do you think, Dan? I think the Cubs get a game. I think they show. And I'll tell you, beware. If they do get game 3, it could.
I think they win tonight. I don't think they win the series, but I think they win tonight.
But see, okay, they win tonight, man. They could get back some momentum they need. I think they lose tonight. Winning the next day is just a foregone conclusion. You're gonna lose it all. But tonight a win might, sort of spark some sort of enthusiasm.
And tonight makes it a series. If they could win tonight and beat Jacob deGrom, that puts the Mets back on their heels a little bit. Cubs have the next two at home. It'll be a longer series. But if they ever lose tonight, forget it. I mean, like I said, I think it's over anyway. I think deGrom will shut them down tonight, and I think the Mets will hit. So I think it's going to be a sweep.
But let me ask you something. When the Mets have blown a big lead and had a bad game,
Or a big prisoner.
does Flippin ever forget to turn the microphone on?
No, because I control my mic, but he is a wreck. I mean, he's sitting in there with his head in his hands. He's
Wow.
throwing stuff. He's angry.
Wow.
Even when they win, he's angry.
Yeah, that's what Don't you worry about him?
Yeah, I do. Well, I mean, I don't really care about him as much as you guys. I don't have to work with him more
But
time.
that's the point now. At least in the 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, you could relate to these players a little more financially. But now you can't. I mean, and I think Brooks Robinson worked for UPS in the winter. I'm not even kidding around with the Orioles. You really could relate to them. Now, doesn't it make you sick to think that, to really, if you're a Yankee fan and you go to the game and you're like a plumber's assistant or you work on the side of the LIE, like, fixing it for the government or the city, you work as a city worker paving the LIE, and, you take your kids to a Yankee playoff game, the final game against Detroit or something, and you watch A-Rod strike out 3 times to lose the game. Your 3 fat kids had 2 hot dogs apiece, so you're $90 in the hole from the hot dogs. The parking's $100, the ticket was $4. You're $1,200 in the hole, and while you and your fat kids are in traffic, going back to your house in outside of Flushing, A-Rod is boarding a private jet with 6 Hooters chicks on his way down to his Miami mansion, and by the time you're at work late because your kids were shitting out those hot dogs you fucking gave them, and they're all failing gym, and they have diabetes already at 11, and you go to the LIE and you put that orange vest on, hungover, and you pick up the Daily News, all upset, you're broke because the first break is coming, and you don't have enough money to buy coffee for the guys because you were at the game last night. You're upset about the Yankees, and you pick up the paper, and you see a picture of A-Rod finger-banging Cameron Diaz by his pool in Miami. He was 17 hours after striking out. He's in Miami, finger fucking an actress while you're paving the LIE. Does this make you want to sell your season tickets on any level?
There was a lot to digest right there. I would not factor in any of that to take away from my enjoyment. But I understand what you're saying, but you have to separate the two. I mean, they're rich people. They're, in all likelihood, a lot of them aren't necessarily good people, whatever they may do.
Good people.
You just gotta. I mean, you root for. As a sports fan, you gotta take that out of the equation. You just root for, as they say, the jersey. I guess
you're right.
You're
right. It's hard to, though. Is my point. Obviously, a comic. I'm trying to be a little funny, but it's so hard to take that out of the equation for me. I want A-Rod to. I want to put in his contract where he's got to stay in the Bronx for at least a day in the damp November rain and be a little aggravated with me. He's got no skin in the game, man. He gets a home. Breaking these records, 600 home runs, doesn't mean anything to him romantically. It means another $6 million.
There's a major disconnect because they don't care, and the fans can't relate, like you said. And obviously, you were joking around extreme there. It is. There's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah. No, I wasn't joking around. My friend who works for the LA, his kid does have diabetes from gluten-free hot dogs at the Met game. Okay, listen, bud, you got a great sense of humor. As a Met fan, brother, I congratulate you on this time. Have fun. Enjoy it. I hope your sweet prediction comes through. And then who do you rather see in the World Series? We'll end with that as a Met fan.
Matt.
Hello?
I'll go Royals.
I'm losing you. Damn it. Royals?
Yeah.
Oh,
you
Royals.
like the Blue Jays?
No. I agree with you. I think they match up better against the Royals. I think I'd rather see them. And I think baseball, network-wise, I think that's a better rated series, too. The Royals seem to be a fun team to watch. All right, well, prediction there. Mets-Royals. What do you think?
I think just think it's look. Who the hell knows these pictures?
Right. Just hope it's a good series. Hope. Nah, well, we're losing him. Sal, we lost Sal. Again, Dan doesn't even seem to care. He's not even looking at.
There's nothing I can do.
I know, but okay, Dan. He's mad at me. Nothing I can do. Sal, great job. If you're hearing it, it's out in the SoundCloud. He was great, Sal. Great sense of humor, and I think he predicted the Mets. What was that anger, man? I mean, really? I mean, calm down. You yelled at me.
I didn't yell at you.
I know there's nothing you could do. Who am I supposed to turn to?
Selma.
This is everybody on the show, from Gino, Chris, you. It's like everybody. No one. I'm not allowed to, as the host, complain about anything. You're like, what? I'm not supposed to kiss your ass. Well, nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. Okay, I get it. Sorry, buddy. Well, okay, great job.
I have my plug.
I'm ordered around. I said I'm a little tired. No, we're doing Sal. We're doing. Okay. I'm ordered around. Okay. Plugs, I guess. I don't know.
If you're near Atlanta, go see Joe Matarese at the Laughing Skull. He'll be there October 22nd through 24th.
Yeah, I have no say in this. You think I want you to hear that? And Dan is just very passive. Dan yells at me about these plugs. He gets mad at me. Sell Joe, man. I give you permission. You don't have to do those plugs. What's the date? When is he there?
October 22nd.
Let's go over this. October what?
October 22nd through the 25th.
What's tomorrow? Isn't he there? What's today? The 20th?
20th.
All right.
Joe's gonna be here tomorrow.
Right. Let's go to Atlanta.
And then he goes to
October 22nd
through the 25th. He's at the Laughing Skull.
God, I've done that route before. Now, the Punchline, I think it's still there. I haven't been there in a while. The Punchline's a good club in Atlanta. I middled there a while ago. That's a long time ago. Great town, Atlanta. I opened for Norm Macdonald there at the theater, too, the Roxy. We stayed at the Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead, man.
It
was the night Sinatra died. Yep. The night Sinatra died. Summer of 98, the MGM sent Norm and I on a 7-city tour to promote the movie Dirty Work. MGM sent us out, and it was also the year South Park, the cartoon, premiered on Comedy Central. So what happened was, here was the show. They'd show a trailer of South Park. And then they would, I'd come up, and I'd open, I'd host the show. I'd do 20 minutes. Then I'd bring up Norm Macdonald, and Norm would do an hour. And then I'd come back out, and they'd show the first pilot. If they wanted to stay for 22 minutes straight without commercials, obviously it's 22 minutes, a half-hour show on a network, they could stay and watch it. So it was a pretty cool night. So the trailers for South Park, my 20 minutes, Norm's hour, and then the first South Park. Then I came back out, said thank you, plugged it one more time, and it was it. It was a fun night. And MGM couldn't pay us much, but it was promoting our movie. You know, it was a buddy comedy. I had a big stake in that because it came out June the 12th, 1998. So this was probably around June 1st or 2nd. We were on the road for about 2 weeks. You know, I was 29, 30 years old. It was a great time. Great time. It was so fun. You know, we stayed at the MGM couldn't pay us a lot, but we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, all 5-star hotels, limos all over the fucking place. And big, nice first class on the jets. That we, Norm and I, that was the Chicago Bulls finals. Utah. It was Jordan's. Phoenix, who did Jordan play his last series against? It was Jordan's last finals that he won. He closed
Utah.
It out. Yeah, Utah. That was the famous, I talked about this. Norm and I got paid whatever we got paid, promoted the fucking movie, and stayed in first class situations all over the place. Our room, we played Seattle, St. Louis, Atlanta. We were in, I believe, Dallas, Phoenix, LA, and San Francisco. That's how it went. Our Phoenix room at the Four Seasons was one of the nicest hotel rooms I've ever been in. They were supposed to be nice, but we got upgraded for some reason. And we had this room. It was just fucking insane. I was able to get a couple of chicks back there by the end of the night. Like I'm talking 4 or 5 a.m. Everybody went back to sleep. It's a long story. I won't get into it. Again, there might be a chubby Filipino kid in Phoenix somewhere.
Is that the one on the golf course, the Four Seasons? Because there's
Yes,
one.
yes, in Phoenix.
I know that
the
one.
Four Seasons in Phoenix is near a golf course. The golf course that's where we played with Euchre on another trip. The golf course is called, what the fuck? It was the 3rd rated best golf course in the country at the time. What the fuck? Was surrounded by beautiful estates as well. And I was not a good golfer. The one with Euchre, I sliced it quite a bit right into a beautiful home. Like a mansion. I think I put it through the kitchen a couple of times. Also, though, a different time, around 04, 05, with my lovely girlfriend at the time, Dana, I did a gig at a theater, the Lakewood Theater in Dallas, Texas. I brought Dana. The Days of Wine and Roses.
True North, is it?
True North. That's where we fucking played with Bob Euchre. I'll fucking fuck her. Look at hole 6 over there. I think it's a gang fuck. That wasn't me or Euchre. That was me or Norm. I mean, that was Bab Bullet Euchre. Bullet Bab Euchre coming at you. But anyway.
A single is $900 there today.
A single is $900 to one person to play golf.
No, the hotel room.
A single at the hotel
Single
room
room,
is $900.
$900.
Anyway, there are also the other Four Seasons I've stayed at that was on a golf course was in Dallas. This was not for Norm. This was years later, 7 years later exactly. I think it was summer of 05 because I remember I just shot Beer League and I had a couple of gigs. To make up for some lost time. I took a couple of gigs that paid well. Days of Wine and Roses. I wasn't able to do any stand-up during the shoot. So I booked a couple, and my wonderful girlfriend Dana at the time came with me. One of them was I got paid $70,000 for 2 nights, 4 shows in 2 nights, 70 G's. Bam, right in the pocket. Bam, right in the pocket. I brought Dana, who was so solid, Newark, New Jersey 9. Gorgeous girl. Young Carmen Electra looking chick, Dana. Nice ass. Gesticulated quite a bit with her hands when she spoke, very giddy, but what a wonderful looking girl with that blue fucking Gindaloon Rouge from North Jersey, those lips, very sexy. And when she yelled at me, she sounded exactly like Andrew Dice Clay in his 3rd album. You fat fuck! Turned me on, but we stayed. I had the 70 G's. I had Dana. You're doing stuff in style. When you date Artie Lang, you're not at the La Quinta Inn, honeys. All right? You don't stay at the La Quinta Inn out by the airport in Indianapolis like DirecTV put you if you're Dan Filato and you got all the equipment. This ain't Barry Sobel bringing you out, huh? So, we stay at the Four Seasons.
Las Colinas.
Exactly. We stay at the Four Seasons, me and Dana, on the golf course in Dallas while I'm doing my gig. Gig was about 30 minutes away in a stretch limo. You go, Art, how far away is your gig? I don't know if you're driving a Sonic or a Daewoo or a regular car. I do know the exact time if you're in a brand new Lincoln stretch limousine with all the trimmings. And if it's just you and a smoking out 102-pound chick in high heels from Jersey who's never heard of Rick Steves. So we get there, we do this. So we're on the golf course in Dallas, breakfast outside. It's just stunning. Stunning! I took Dana because she was not well-traveled. She was very, very provincial compared to me at the time. So I looked very sophisticated. We went to Dealey Plaza, and we took the whole tour of where our president, John F. Kennedy...
Oh, I thought you went to Dealey Plaza in Chicago. That would be Dealey Plaza.
I said Dealey.
Okay.
I said Dealey.
Okay.
Replan, I say Dealey. You're pissing me off, Daly. So I showed Dana where our president was shot and killed by, in my opinion, one guy, but in my opinion, working for other guys whose names may or may not have rhymed with Shimmy and Khan. So we stood at the X on the street where he was shot. We stood there. The conspiracy theorist guy with the parrot on his shoulder handing out pamphlets and research and brochures about it right there. He recognized me from Stern. He goes, "Tell Howard I know he thinks I'm wrong, but he's wrong." We stood up at the grassy knoll We stood at up at the causeway there, looking down where another bullet was supposed to come from across the street from the sewer. They said something was coming from the lawn. We went upstairs to the shoot room, they call it, the bullet room, the rifle room. I went down. I ran down the stairs that Oswald supposedly took, got into the refreshment room, ordered a soda, looked up, and said, I haven't seen anybody. I conducted a full investigation. And my entire investigation concluded that, yeah, Oswald probably did it by himself, lone shooter, but working for somebody else. And therein lies the answer. Pick up a book called Case Closed. Guy makes a good case for the opposite situation, but he's wrong. Very articulate, but not as articulate as me. I've conducted full investigations at Chappaquiddick, the OJ situation, and Dealey Plaza. And my conclusions, I feel, are all correct. At Chappaquiddick, I'm going to say this in a way that's unoffensive as possible, but arguably our greatest, most prolific senator time-wise, from our most respected royal-type family, drowned a woman in 1969. Or let her drown and swam away, using his enormous head as a buoy. A big red buoy. Era, I swam away!
I did not ask him when he was naked.
The drowning of a whore? Oh, yeah. Dan Filato, era, saw me naked. We discussed Rick Steves. I was leaving Rick Steves' apartment. Sure. My pendulum swung both ways. What the hell? I'm a famous billionaire. You get bored. You say, Ted, how do you get bored with pussy? Easy. Easy. Bang enough pussy, you'll get bored with it. That's what happens. So Rick Steves was doing his backdoor special. And when Rick Steves looked behind him in the back door, he saw the big red face of yours truly, Senator Ted Kennedy. Hyannisport. I docked in his Hyannisport. I drowned a woman, a young woman, a young secretary. We had nicknames for the young secretaries who worked for the campaign. We called them filthy whores. We had one question for the filthy whores. We said, do you like a drink? Do you like small red penises? And can you swim?
Do you see why his name was in the paper today?
Because he fucked Rick Steves while Dan Filato watched. All lies. What?
Justin Trudeau is now going to be the Prime Minister of Canada, and his mother was Margaret Trudeau, who had an affair with Ted Kennedy.
Of course, the Trudeaus and the Kennedys are linked together. They're linked together. Even Dr. Ben Carson cannot separate them. You understand? The colored fellow running for president. What the fuck is that? As you know, I am an liberal. I love the blacks. I don't mind a black being freed.
Justin looks a little like Teddy, don't you think?
Justin looks like Teddy. Justin Timberlake is my favorite performer right now. You can take Justin Trudeau and shove him up your arse, along with Rick Steves on the back door. But I drowned the whore. Cost me a presidency, not my senatorship. I then trained some of my younger relatives like William Kennedy Smith. For some reason, Dan is showing me a picture of Justin Trudeau. It's very disconcerting. I'm trying to talk.
Could be your son.
Yeah. So anyway, after the Chappaquiddick investigation by a podcast host, Fat Artie Lang, Fat Matty McDonald, the conclusion is just this. I drowned a whore to further my career. Then my nephew raped a woman. You could say the Kennedys don't have respect for women. You're correct. But we love blacks, as long as they're not Dr. Ben Carson. I then conducted the OJ investigation. And supposedly he had 45 minutes, OJ. 45 minutes to drive from his house in Brentwood to the condo he was paying for Nicole. In that 45 minutes, he supposedly got there, encountered her, and the very lucky Ron Goldman, bringing back her sunglasses, and a big dog. He basically decapitated all three of them, got back to his house in Brentwood, gave the knife to father of the TV darlings known as the Kardashians, and said, hide this. He did, ensuring himself a spot in hell, watching a videotape of his daughter blowing a rapper for eternity. And then he got on a plane to Chicago. 45 minutes. Okay. In the night.
Was walking around the woods
Exactly.
near O'Hare Airport for some reason.
O'Hare Airport. For some reason.
Why would you walk around the woods near O'Hare Airport?
Maybe you just blew Rick Steves. No. So supposedly he did this middle of the night with no traffic. I, Artie Lang, maybe the first thing I did when I got to Los Angeles. Well, the first thing I did when I got to Los Angeles was this. I screen tested for Mad TV. I booked that, and then I conducted a full investigation. I asked my agent to drive me over there. True story. In midday traffic on Sunset Boulevard in the Brentwood area, anyone who knows that knows it is very heavy. Okay? I drove from O.J. Simpson's home to Nicole's condo, got out of my agent's car, walked over to the front of the condo. I acted with using a pen as a knife. I made all the motions it would take to decapitate a screaming broad, a dog, and a waiter who looked like he took Pilates. Got back in the car and drove back. And I took my time doing it because I'm not O.J. Simpson, a Hall of Fame running back. I was, by that point, a very chubby comedian who got out of breath for a reason.
Selma loves your Ted Kennedy, by the way.
There, Selma. Selma's my maid, and I love her. She's heard me do this before in my sleep. She's heard me make hookers make this noise. Just call me. Yeah, those aren't stretch marks. They're tattoos, honey. That's a tramp stamp. So, okay. Midday traffic. Doing all that. I got back 6 minutes. Case closed. 6 minutes. 45. A joke. 6 minutes. 6 minutes in midday traffic. Could they have shown the jury this? Don't think so. Dummies. Flea Bailey's busy finding out whether or not Furman said the N-word. What the fuck does that have to do with shit? Johnny Cochran's doing his rap album. If it don't fit, it must have quit. How about this? Take a shit in your mouth. And Flea Bailey's like, have you ever used the N-word? Fine. So I've conducted full investigations. My investigations are... The Lang report, by the way, is a 450-page document on all these things. And it took me 6 minutes. 6 motherfucking minutes. And I basically think that they knew about my report. And that's how Fred Goldman got the Heisman Trophy back. Some people say, Art, you're crazy. Crazy? Or brilliant? You decide. That's today's podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It has been over 3 hours of complete gibberish. But the section on Rick, Steves, and Dan, to me, is some fascinating Peabody shit. It is very odd. Very odd. I'm questioning this. On every psychological level. Dan, do you have any words as we close to defend yourself on the Rick Steves situation?
No.
Especially after hearing his voice. Guys, listen to the voice. We're going to listen. Backdoor, baby. I want to thank Sal Rosenberg. Sal Licata. What's his name? Sal Licata. Sal Licata. Sports anchor for SNY, big Mets guy. Like it or not, Yankee fans, it's a Mets town right now. Sal was nice enough to come on. He does the pregame show at SNY, which means he's making $28,000 before taxes. Still lives at home with his mom in Ronkonkoma, and I don't see anything on the horizon. Put it this way, Sal, you're a good guy, you're talented, but the cavalry is not coming. And you better do something very, very crazy, like get a whore and bite her back. Do the Marv Albert, as we call it around the desk. So thanks, Sal. Thank you again, Rick Steves, for letting us play your audio. Thanks to Gino and Chris Cotton for not coming. And go to, I don't know, I'll be around. Go to artiequitter.com.
Enter the contest.
Enter the fucking contest. Just like I entered Rick Steves.
1 is way ahead, but 2 and 3 are very close. They're doable.
People are doable. That's what Rick told me. He said, you're doable. And I did them. No, absolutely. There's a big lead. The guy in the front, we can't say his name, he's kicking some ass here. But, look, that's incentive. He's catchable is the point. And the first two guys, first guy gets $3,000, second guy gets $1,000. That's cold hard cash I'm giving to you. And you get a trip here. We give you a first class trip here.
No, not a first class ticket.
I'm sorry.
I'm saving you money.
Era! Want to save me money? Cut down on the fucking sandwiches.
Oh.
So anyway, yeah. So you're gonna come here, but we're gonna show you a great time. You're gonna sit in here. If you don't want Dan here, fine. We'll try to get Rick Steves or whatever. But it's very easy. Go to artiequitter.com for details. But you could still win now if you sign up. Just go. All right. The third prize is you get the $1,000. You still get some cold hard cash or the trip. Maybe I'll give you a choice. We'll talk to you. If you come in third, we'll talk to you. Could work it out. But we will have fun. It's touching that a lot of the people would rather have the trip here than the money. They're fans. They're fans. And we're going to show you a good time. So artiequitter.com, join it. October 31st, Halloween is the last day you can do this.
And if you're a Cub fan in Hoboken, the Tilted Kilt is where Cub fans are going to watch the game.
Yeah, right. They tilt the kilt up and get it right in the ass. From Daniel Murphy. Okay, artiequitter.com for all your Artie Lang needs. We love you all. Who's on the show tomorrow?
Joe Matarese.
Joe Matarese. We'll discuss the Rick Steves thing with Joe. I just need some feedback. When you listen to the show tonight, guys, we will try to take some calls. I want to get your opinion on if it's creepy or not. That Dan likes a guy, as much as he likes Bruce Springsteen, that's basically Richard Simmons with a passport.